Welcome to the Lowell Planning Board, July 17th, 2006. Tonight we have several matters on our agenda. We have 4 public hearings, we have 4 pre-application sessions, and we have 2 matters under old business, as well as notices from abutting towns, minutes, and also legal notices from the Zoning Board of Appeals. At this point in time, first matter I'd request is for the members for the minutes of the April 20th, 2006. Any corrections from any of the board members? Any corrections on April 20th? Okay.
I have no corrections on April 20th.
Okay. You want to make a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes. Those minutes for April 20th have been adopted. The next set of minutes will be for the May 1st, 2006. Okay. Motion is made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes. Those minutes are approved. Next matter will be the minutes for May 15th, 2006. Any questions or concerns?
No. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. The June 5th minutes we just received tonight. At this point in time, I request that we put those over to next month while members could have a chance to thoroughly read them. Can I have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, so minutes will continue. At this point in time, if as I tell you, we have 4 public hearings. All our public hearings are for special permit and also site plan. Under our regulations on the special permit, you need 4 of the 5 votes of the planning board members, and since we only have 4 members, that means you would need the majority of all 4 votes on any special permit that's before the board tonight. Just make that in comment for any applicants who want to request a continuance to see if we will get a 5th member sometime in the future, or if they want to go forward today. I'm just throwing that out as notice to the applicants. At this point in time, I would make a request that somebody make a motion that we waive the reading of the agenda.
So moved.
So moved. Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next matter we will take up will be the 82 Riverside Street. The Lowell Planning Board will review an application by Merrimack Riverside Realty, LLC, and Arthur Foss Jr. for the site plan and special permit review of the development of the property located at 82 Riverside Street. The proposed includes the construction of 5 new townhouse-style units on 28,623 square foot lot located in the traditional neighborhood multifamily zoning district. The proposal also includes the conversion of the site's existing 2-family house into a single-family dwelling for a total of 6 units on the site, with associated landscaping and required parking. This project requires site plan approval under section 11.4, special permit approval under section 9.4, neighborhood character special permit, and special permit approval under Article 12 of the zoning ordinance. Site plan and special permit applications will be heard concurrently for this project. Can the applicant please state the name and address, please?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, James Flood, 81 Bridge Street, Lowell, Mass., representing the applicant. Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, our project engineer is unavailable tonight, and without him, I think we'd have trouble explaining the project. So the purpose of my appearance is to request that this matter be continued until your next scheduled meeting when he will be available.
Are many people in attendance here tonight for 82 Riverside Street? Could you just raise your hand so I know who's who? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, thank you very much. At this point in time, there had been a request for continuance. What's the request of the board?
Make a motion to continue the
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Will you be prepared for the August meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
actually. What's the date of that meeting?
I know, Jim, you have it there, don't you, Jim?
Yes, it's the 3rd Monday of August, which is August 21st. The meeting will again be held here in the City Council chambers at 7 o'clock that evening for the public hearings.
Are we going to 6:30?
Because we've already advertised this at a 7 o'clock meeting, this public hearing will begin at 7 o'clock. If the board so chooses to start the meeting at 6:30, doing other business, that should be okay, but the public hearings will begin at 7 o'clock.
Okay. So anybody here that's here for the Riverside Street, the matter will be continued to August 21st, 06. You received no further notice, and hopefully it's not a hot night. So hopefully we can get you out of here now and you can come back on that night. And all persons that have any interest in that matter can be heard on that night. Or if any people you know in the neighborhood who have any concerns about this application, you can let them know they'll be on for August 21st, 06 at 7 p.m. Thank you all for coming down. I appreciate it. Thank you. Getting back on the order of agenda, next matter we have is a site plan and special permit, 1881, 1883, 1887.1 Middlesex Street. This is a continuation from last month's meeting. I will read the advertisement. The Lowell Planning Board will review an application by Middlesex Partners Limited and Lexi Development for a site plan and special permit review of the development of property located at the above-mentioned addresses on Middlesex Street. The proposal includes the construction of 128 units and four buildings on a 402, 930 square foot lot with 288 parking space and associated landscaping. The site will be accessed via a 24-foot wide curb cut located at Middlesex Street across from Dingwell Street. The project requires site plan approval under section 11.4 and special permit approval under section 6.7.2 of the zoning ordinance. Site plan and special permit applications will be heard concurrently for this project. At the last meeting, when we were across the hall in the mayor's reception room, because we weren't in this room because the city council was doing budget hearings, the board members did take testimony from the applicant, people who was with him by the engineer, and also we heard from many of the neighbors, and we heard comments from the department throughout the city. The board will be mindful of everything that we spoke about last time, and we're still contemplating. I know most of us took pretty well notes from the last meeting, so we heard the majority of the information. I know the issue came up about the traffic, and at that point in time, Attorney Flood requested that the matter be continued so a traffic study could be prepared and have it looked over by our traffic engineer. At that time, the board granted that request, and we did continue the matter to tonight's date. And I indicated to the neighbors who were here, as well as the applicant, if anybody wanted to speak further at tonight's hearing, anybody who spoke before, or anybody who was not present at the last meeting would be welcome to come and speak at tonight's meeting. But the board members still have minutes of what we spoke about last time and what the concerns were, and we do have testimony that is still before us we haven't made a decision on. So given that as a wrap-up at this time, I'll turn it back over to Attorney Flood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Since that last meeting, I'm going to be very brief because I know you have a large agenda tonight, but we have been to the Conservation Commission, and Katie from Hancock Associates will handle that. And I also have with me Bob Vaness, who's our traffic engineer, who can report on this traffic study. I also received today a letter from Brian Bush, and I don't know whether you got that and whether you were going to read it into the minutes or not, but I have a copy of it.
No, I think I do. Okay,
Yeah, and that was received today.
Okay, let me take a look.
And I think Katie has addressed all of the issues that the board had, that staff had, and that the city engineer has had. So I think, to be brief, I'm going to turn it over to Katie, and then she can turn it over to Bob, and then we're here to answer any questions or take any more comments that you people wish. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Balmingen. I'm an engineer with Hancock Associates. Since we were here last, I've made some revisions to the plans, and we've had some additional meetings with different town boards. Since we were here, we did go to Conservation Commission, and we do have an order of conditions from them for the revisions to the plans that were submitted to you last week. Basically what that includes is a flood storage area that we had kind of briefly discussed at the last hearing, which is shown on your plans that you have before you, to make up for flood storage lost within the isolated land subject to flooding that's located on the site. They've also asked for some additional plantings in the flood storage area and some plantings and some maintenance to be done within the isolated land subject to flooding. And they did issue an order of conditions, and I did fax that over to James to be part of your packages so that you could review that if you'd like. I've also spoken with Stephen Curran, the city engineer, and made some modifications to the plans, very, very basic, providing a detail of the rear buffer that's located along the railroad, and also dropping the sewer line, and spoken with him in regards to that. The fire department, I spoke with Captain Weber, and the only concerns that Captain Weber had were to change the far right and far left fire lanes to be 18 feet wide, and that has been changed and has been shown on the plans that you have before you tonight. There's also some minor changes that Mr. Erickson, your planner, had asked me to change, adding some different types of paving to the fire lane and some signage to basically call that out as being separate from the main driveway within the site, and that's been done, and that's also before you tonight. Besides that, the modifications were fairly minor. That future parking that we had talked about has been relocated so that it's not located within, obviously, the flood storage area that we need now is actually located in front of the community center and is shown as shaded on the plans before you tonight. And the majority of what we did do was to contact Mr. Bob Vaness from Vaness and Associates, who has completed a traffic study of the area, and I'd like to turn it over to him to basically discuss those findings with you now.
Thank you, Katie. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Bob Vaness, and I'm a registered professional engineer in the Commonwealth. And I've been a transportation planning and engineering consultant for over 38 years. We've been before the city on numerous occasions over those times. We were asked, and we have conducted a study that essentially looked at what the impacts, if any, would be of the dwelling units, and we have submitted that to the city, and your staff has reviewed it. But I'd just like to quickly share the highlights of it. We basically do 3 or 4 things. We measure existing conditions, we count cars, we measure the widths of streets, we look at the accident research, we measure safety sight lines and delays and how cars back up, things like that. We generate traffic for the new proposed use, taking into effect what we know the development like this will generate, and we then analyze based on a future year and determine what items, if any, would be required and what will be needed to mitigate the traffic impact. And as I say, your staff has looked at this. I'll quickly go through the highlights. It's a lengthy report. I think it's approximately 40 pages, which we're certainly not going to do tonight. But we did it for the 128 dwelling units, approximately 288 spaces, with 2 drives. One main drive opposite Dingwell Street, emergency, essentially in the vicinity of the existing commercial drive. We studied 5 intersections and 4 streets. We studied Middlesex, we studied Princeton, Dingwell, and Wood Street, as well as the existing site drive intersection. We measured the number of lanes, how wide the streets are, whether it's horizontal, whether it's straight, whether it's level. All those things are in there, and again, I won't go into great detail. Probably as important as anything, we measured what happens. And not use this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. As important as anything is the traffic, and what we measured and corrected to an annual number was the existing cars on the abutting street, Middlesex, of a little under 14,000 cars a day, and the peak hours are about 800 to 900 in the morning and a little over 1,100 in the evening. Again, this is all contained in the report. We looked at accidents at the 5 intersections, and what we found were 3 were not significant, and two, the accidents, the locations on Wood Street had numbers that were significant and totals of that are contained in the report, and the things that we would recommend or look at for the city that they might consider doing it. That's an existing condition, has nothing to do with us, but I think it's important for the city to know when we make a complete study. That's all contained. We measured the safety sight lines of the proposed drive to make sure that people exiting could do so safely, and certainly they all conform. We grow traffic to a horizon here. In this case, we suggested 2011, which is the standard that the state uses for their MEPA projects. We grow background traffic, and we looked at 4 existing identified projects that are in the planning, review, and approval process in the city and in Chelmsford. We looked at Millview, we looked at a commercial development, we looked at Princeton Commons and the University of Lowell expansion. We didn't get a lot of information on that, but we took as much as we could find. Also, we generated what this proposal at 128 dwelling units would generate, and we analyzed that. On a daily basis, it would generate, in our view, approximately 790 vehicle trips. That's not automobiles, but that's movements in and out of the development. In the morning, it would be about 63 movements in and out, the majority leaving, and in the evening, approximately 74 movements, again, also the majority leaving. We then distribute that on the existing street system, analyze the intersections, determine what percent increases would be felt by the streets, and that ranges anywhere from 0.1% to about 1.4%. And then we analyze the criteria that were made to use the levels of service at each of these streets. And what we have found basically was that the levels of service and the important criteria is 5 years from now between the no build, without us, for example, on city streets, and with us. So, and what we found is that we had no level of service changes, and we could even make one intersection, Middlesex at Wood, operate a little bit better with some timing and phasing changes that we're going to recommend. So I think the sum and substance of what we have said in the report, that will certainly have no appreciable impacts on the network with regard to traffic volume, circulation, or delays. It's just not a significant number in the peak hours, like 1 a minute. As far as safety items, queues, stopping sight distance, again, there's essentially no appreciable impacts because the volumes are very insignificant and unremarkable. We don't have information when the existing uses were at full employment, but we have some information on what they currently have. And there's approximately 38 to 40 employees, and there's probably 40 to 50 truck trips in and out a day that are there now, which obviously would be removed from the streets. We made several recommendations, particularly for the site drive, which will be opposite Dingwell Street. We suggested that it be appropriately sized with regard to width, with regard to corner radii, and with regard to control. We're suggesting stop signs. We made 2 recommendations for off-site, the signalized intersection of Middlesex and Wood, and even Princeton at Wood. Both of those, although one doesn't need it, but we could get more efficient phasing and timing if it were to change. And what we have suggested and pledged to do is that within 12 months, once everything settles in, we would revisit that and make suggestions to the city, if the city's willing to undertake those, the very minor phasing and changes. There's no capital cost, there's no physical equipment we'd need to buy, just the things that we could make it operate, I think, a little bit more efficiently. The study that we have submitted was reviewed by staff, and certainly you have that before you. But basically, I'll just paraphrase. The staff indicated that they felt it was done properly. The scope, the geographic scope, and technical elements were sufficient. The recommendations were adequate for the impacts we would have, which are de minimis. And essentially, the staff agrees with our conclusions and recommendations, and I'm sure you have a copy of that since it was done by your people. So the sum and substance of basically what we're saying is that for a variety of reasons, the main reason is that we just have very low volumes, less than about 1 a minute during the peak hours, that with some minor changes, you can certainly accommodate the traffic volumes, and we're not going to exacerbate or worsen any of the existing situations at the two signalized intersections. And that's where we are now. Princeton Boulevard.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Mr. Flood?
I don't have anything to add. I think those were the issues that we were left unanswered last time. I know, Mr. Lockhart had some questions about the fire department. I think he responded that he just wanted the increased width, and I think that would satisfy him. But I think we've answered the questions, and we'd be glad to answer any more that the board might have.
At this point in time, does anybody here want to speak in favor? Before we do that, as Mr. Flood said, we did receive a letter in our packets from a gentleman who couldn't be here tonight and asked if we would read it. It's Brian Bush from Any Heritage Properties, Inc., 1201 Westwood Street. I think it's in here. Dear Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Board, I reviewed the revised plans and comments for the proposed Drake's Landing project at 1881-1887 Middlesex Street as submitted by Hancock Associates. As you may recall, Heritage Properties and its affiliates own and manage the buildings at 1861 and 1867, which directly abuts the proposed project. In addition, we own and manage an apartment complex diagonally across the street, 1840-1844 Middlesex Street. The purpose of this letter is to express to you my support of this project. I think the proponent has proposed a project that, being residential, is much more consistent with the use on this portion of Middlesex Street. The current industrial use is the only industrial use on Middlesex Street between Wood Street and Chelmsford Town Line. Conservation to residential use at this site will reduce the incompatibility of industrial and residential use in the neighborhood, particularly by reducing large truck traffic through the neighborhood. As an abutter, the developer and his engineer have also addressed a few comments that I have had a direct impact on our property at 1861-1867 Middlesex Street. They have addressed these issues to my satisfaction and have done so in a cooperative, neighborly fashion. I support this project, and I think it would be excellent use as proposed. Please feel free to contact me should you have any questions regarding this matter. This is Brian C. Bush, President of Any Heritage Properties, Inc. Putting that to the side, as indicated, does anybody want to speak in favor?
Yeah.
In favor?
Mr. Chairman, the only question I have, do you people have a copy of the order of conditions? Do you have a copy of the order of conditions that was issued? Because I have an extra copy if you need it.
For the Conservation Commission?
Yes.
I have a copy in the official file. I read through them, and if you have a copy to present to the board, that's fine. There's a number of conditions, sorry, Mr. Chairman, just to make light of Conservation Commission approval. There are a number of conditions, some of which are standard based on Massachusetts State Conservation Commission law, some of which are standard based on what the local ordinance for wetlands states, and then a number of special conditions that are special just to this project itself. I'm letting you have this file just to review them. When I reviewed it previously, it seemed, although you can review the file, I flipped to the special conditions page because those are the ones that are specific to this site itself.
What I'll do is I'll pass these along to the board members. We can look at those as we proceed. Okay, you want to start? Sorry. Mary?
Also, to briefly note, Mr. Chairman, the Conservation Commission did hold a public hearing on this project as well, which this was similar to this process.
Just to let all the people present know, I'll read basically what we got from the letter for the special conditions, which was approved by the Conservation Commission. A revised planting schedule shall be submitted in accordance with the DEP guidelines to avoid the planting of invasive species. Invasive exotic species shall be removed from the wetland area. Proposed flood storage compensation area shall be revised to decrease the flow elevation to 39. Proponent shall be allowed to use the material from the isolated wetland and the compensation area for the purpose of revegetation and recharge for flood storage and wetland replication. Proponent shall decrease invert or connection pipes to the flood storage area to allow the area to function as designed. Revised plan shall be submitted before the planning board meeting on July 17, 2006. During demolition phase, the project will respect to the two-story wood frame structure at 1883 Middlesex Street. The proponent will install hail bays and slope fence on the northern portion of property to prevent runoff. The Conservation Commission shall be notified of demolition of a two-story wood frame structure, completion of the access road, completion of the compensation area, and before demolition of the former Bradford Industries building. All demolition materials shall be removed as quickly as possible. None wood material that are stockpiled shall be covered at night to minimize dust and runoff in a rain event. The project shall be built in accordance with the plan submitted and dated 6/22/06. And those are the special conditions signed off by the Conservation. Is this your copy, Mr. Flood? If not, I know we have one in the file.
That's for you.
Okay,
That's for
thank
you,
you.
yes.
So, at this point in time, anybody who'd like to speak in opposition, please come to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Bill Emmerich. I live at 1852 Middlesex Street, and I also own a house at 28 Dingwall Street. And I'm in opposition to this because I have an aerial photo in my hands on this board, and it's showing where there used to be 4 single-family houses are now 9 apartment buildings. Directly across the street from where I live are 2 apartment buildings where there used to be 2 duplexes. Diagonally across are 3 banks of condos where there used to be 3 single-family homes. And directly beside where I live are 7 apartment buildings, probably about 300 units. And all of this over the last 30 years. I mean, you've already added a ton of people, a ton of traffic. The quality of life is totally diminished, totally. And they're building condos and apartments on Princeton Boulevard. So everything is single-family houses on one side and all apartments on the other. That's all we're looking at. Apartments and traffic. It's unbelievable. But to add another 128 just to demolish one building, and the traffic study is fine, but what they didn't notice, I'm sure they weren't out there at night when their car is parked all the way up Middlesex Street on the apartment side. They may have an entrance there, but anybody coming out, exit at your own risk, because day and night there are cars there. And I took the pictures the day of an accident of somebody coming out of the apartments who didn't make it. But I am in totally opposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, panel, I also live at 38 Dingwell Street, and I oppose because
Sorry,
of
sir,
this.
leave your name for the record. I didn't catch
My
your
name is Carl Johnson. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. It's
I
okay.
oppose because of the safety issue I've noticed from the apartments, the traffic and activity. I live on 38 Dingwell Street. At one time you was able to access Dingwell Street from Middlesex Street or Princeton Boulevard. You can only access Dingwell Street from Princeton Boulevard now. It's a one-way. And there are kids that are playing, and I just see something taking place now with these additional apartments. I'm not against expansion, but safety. There is a safety issue, I believe, and it only just adds to the problem, I believe. And I go to work, and the Rourke Bridge is congested every morning. It's congested. And in the evening, it's equally as bad. So I see a problem getting ready to happen with the additional, residents moving in the apartments. That's all I like to say.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Michael Reddy. I come before you this evening. I'm a resident of 130 Nesmith Street, but I do come before you this evening as an independent activist for the preservation of Lowell's neighborhood architecture and character. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, especially considering that this is a continuance. It's an extraordinary generosity on the part of the board. I thank you. I am here, as I spoke last time. I practically grew up on Pat Emmerich's, DeProfio Emmerich's property at 1852, which was essentially 40, 50 years ago, a small farm. One of the opportunities I want to take this evening, I believe that this developer has done a very poor job as has his engineer, at being fully disclosive of the intention of this development and the consequences of the development. So I'd like to take the opportunity to emphasize the fact that this developer intends to demolish the entire Bradford Industry properties, which, from what I could see, includes a 19th century Greek Revival mill core building, to which has been added many ancillary structures over the last 50 or so years. I'd also like to emphasize that this developer is intending to demolish a 19th century home, one of 3 original shingle-style duplexes that provide, along with Pat Emmerich's property and her cousin Irene DeProfio's, LaRue's property, the last semblance of what was rural Middlesex Street. As Billy Emmerich had noted here in his opposing statements, this area of the city has, probably more than any area of the city, received probably the most highest density development between Princeton Boulevard and Middlesex Street than anywhere else. Middlesex Street, I measured it, it's 36 feet right at Dingwell Street. I'm pretty darn sure it has not been changed since the days of it having been a rural access road to the lake regions of Tingsboro. The area that Mr. Beatty wishes to act as an egress, which is 1878 at the end of Dingwell Street, is a very congested area. It's also across from a single-family neighborhood. I worked at that house this summer. I've worked at this house every summer for the last 5 years. I find the traffic engineer's conclusions to be hard to believe, actually. I made a count of trucks going in there, and I've seen between 8 and 9, 10 trucks. He states it's 40 to 50. For the record, I believe, I have confirmed with the DPD that the traffic engineer is not an employee of the city of Lowell, but rather is hired by the developer. And I think that's important that that's noted, that he is hired by the developer and paid by the developer. Everybody's very concerned about the traffic impact here, and I can't blame them. I can understand the desire to build on this property. It's quite a sizable piece of property. It's landlocked behind very dense development, but I believe the consequences of this development, including a development that this developer had put in at 1835, is they pretty much locked that property in. It's got a railroad track. It's got an active railroad track, which is a freight railroad track. It has a river, And really, the only hope for having any egress in and out of that property is either the existing 24-foot wide, which handles the truck traffic and the 30 or 40 employees mentioned, or cutting down this house at 1878. Now, they want to put in a 24-foot wide access driveway. Middlesex Street allows parking on one side. It measures 36 feet. I don't know the technicalities, but I assume it's 7 feet give and take for the car that parks there. That leaves 29 feet. I do not believe that the infrastructure at that location can handle the added traffic. These block apartment buildings that Mr. Emmerich had mentioned are 60 units each, 30 and 30, 30 and 30, 30 and 30. Plus, we have a new development right down the end of the road. I don't come before here to harass developers. I was asked to look over the situation by the residents of the neighborhood. I think they have a good point. I think what they're trying to do is what's best. Dingwall Street was recently changed to one-way. That was over concerns of safety. I've worked there in the fall. July is very quiet right there, as in comparison to the other 9 months of the year. So this project is enormous. Resident sentiment. Again, 8 tractor trailers, approximately 30 to 40 employees. And one of my biggest sticking points with this as an activist is not only the demolition of these structures, but we're once again attempting to convert not only vacant industrial properties to residential from commercial, but this is an active commercial tax generating property. Bradford Industries pays a commercial tax to the city of Lowell. Over the last 20 years, we have lost a very large segment of our commercial and retail businesses. This is not a vacant lot. Lowell has the second highest commercial tax rate in the state of Massachusetts. We need more commercial businesses. Our very high tax rate, I believe, dissuades businesses from wanting to come here. Westview Road, one of the leading arguments against the Westview Road development was that that was a zoned industrial site, and there was fervent opposition against converting any more of Lowell's industrial property to residential. The politicians in our city always tout, when they're in support of residentialization, that we are going to garner more tax income. We have probably added tens of thousands of units of condominiums to Lowell's infrastructure in the last 10 years, and our taxes are due to go up again. Residential development will never, ever assuage our tax base. Lowell, as a bedroom community, to me, brings a laugh. We inherited one of the most magnificent industrial infrastructures in the Merrimack Valley, and we're converting far too much of it. The traffic study. I've been told by the neighbors that the counter box was put in one day. I can't confirm, didn't see it myself. I also heard, and I don't know, I suppose you would back this up, one of the residents here, that the box became disconnected shortly after it was installed. I also question this, and it might be in the report, so I don't want to sound accusatory. But being July, this has to be the slowest time of the year for all businesses. School is out. That's colleges, day schools, daycares, high schools. I would think, and I guess I could ask the chairman or the request of, have these numbers been multiplied by a factor? I have confirmed with the DPD that they should be, that there should be a multiplier to give an accurate representation of what an average or median traffic burden would be at that location. The study is not conducted by the city. He also mentions 2 drives that he took measurements, and we also would like clarity on which of these 2 drives are they planning on using. They went over that, but we still have nothing concrete there. They very subtly described one as an emergency, which is the existing, and then I assume that the one that will be plowed through 1878 will be the primary. Anyway, that is my opinion on this. I think they have a good reason to be here. Unfortunately, there are many here, and I encourage them to get up and speak if you do have anything to say in opposition. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Thank you, members of the board.
You're welcome. If any of the other people in the audience don't want to speak, name and say they're totally against it, that's okay too. You don't have to give a big summation or whatever, but if anybody wants to speak, anybody else, come please to the podium. If you just want to get up and say I'm against the project, and I agree with other people's comments, feel free to say whatever you like. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Downey. I'm just corresponding with him. On June 28th, the traffic box was put in for traffic. It came down on June 29th. A sweeper from the Lowell City Department broke it. I called, nobody came. I called again, nobody came. I didn't know the city had nothing to do with it. It was the people that they hired. There was a man there at 4 o'clock, 4 to 6, doing control. I was talking to him. There were still cars going by. He was not using his clicker. Is that the right figures? We don't know. That's and I live right at the corner of Middlesex and Dingwell. Too much traffic. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
And I believe you spoke last time, correct?
Yes, I did.
I did. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to be heard? Anybody else want to speak or say anything? Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
I'm Patricia Emmerich of 1878 Middlesex Street in Lowell. I have additional signatures here from last time.
Sure.
I'm in opposition of this. I've lived in the city for 70 years, 50 of which at 1878, where I was born. I've seen a lot of changes, and I'm in opposition of this. There's a lot of elderly people, people with children walking, and safety is a big issue. Plus, the neighborhood is still a very nice neighborhood. And as a voter and taxpayer, I would like the same respect from the city as we give the city. Thank you.
Do you want to approach with that, please, ma'am? I believe you submitted one last time, but we'd be more than happy to look at that one.
Pardon me?
Do you want to approach with that proposal that you have? I think you submitted one to us the last meeting, right? And I told you you could submit another one if you wanted to. You're welcome. When you were here last time, I told you if you want to add any more people to the list to bring it forward this evening. This is just a petition in opposition of Middlesex Street project, filling in the wetlands, demolition of the duplex in order to obtain access to the 128 condo units and 228 parking spaces. And there is a total of 31 signatures on this application, mostly from Middlesex Street, Dingwell Street, Hickey Street, Astor Street, a couple from Nelson Street, Dingwell, Karen, and that's the majority of the applicants. All their names and addresses and phone numbers are present. Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Have anything to say? Anybody else? Anybody else like to speak? Hearing none, this time I'll turn it over to the board members. Rich, I'll start with you tonight if you want to go first.
Yes, I have a couple of questions and a comment. The status of the emergency access road, is that what it is at this point, and is it gated? And if it is gated, has the fire department approved it?
May I respond?
As long as you have the mic on so we can hear you.
All right, let's see if I can get this to work. It has been gated. The fire department does know of its existence. They've seen it on the plans and they've approved it. We've put a gate both here and here so that there can be no access from the parking lot and access drives this way, and no access from Heritage Properties and the access drive at the property line here. And the fire department finds that appropriate. So.
Okay. How do you propose to handle the trash?
The trash is to be located inside the garages of each of these buildings and will be handled privately.
All right, so everything will be inside?
Everything's inside.
Until pickup. To address, there were a few people here that were concerned about the safety, primarily, I guess, surrounding the traffic. Did you not say that you were going to incorporate some signage into this site to try to control that? And can you just go through that?
Sure.
So that we understand what you're trying to do with signage particularly.
Well, I think the things we had proposed were at the signal. We had proposed some retiming and some rephasing at the two signals on Wood Street, is what we had, Princeton and Middlesex. The signing at the drive, if that's what you're referring to, will be the standard Mass Highway City of Lowell signs. The geometry will be the appropriate the standards, Mass Highway and City of Lowell, and the curvature, the width, and how it intersects Middlesex will all conform to those standards.
Can you make any other comment regarding safety of the site? I mean,
A couple, sure. I made some notes as we were speaking. I think the gentleman's arguing about the land use is that. I think it's one of land use and taxes. And I don't think it's certainly not traffic impacts. And I think he made some excellent points. But as far as the traffic, unfortunately, with respect, the facts don't support his speculation. For example, the accidents, what we had researched, the accidents at Dingwell, 3-year period, your records have 1. Now, the way it reports could be a little bit more, but in relative compared to Wood Street, it's a very, very minor, it's not a high accident location by any means. The traffic generation, and I think the comment was made that it's just going to be too much for the infrastructure. The peak hour traffic generation is about 1 a minute, and it's almost going to be unnoticeable coming in and out of the drive. It's really, really de minimis. The width on Middlesex, even when you take a parking lane out, it's more than adequate for what we're going to generate here. It's not even close to being a capacity exceedant or even a safety issue. It's just not there. The question about we count the schools are out. We count year-round. Sometimes the schools are out, sometimes they're in, sometimes there's a snowstorm. We adjust, it's called annualization. We annualize it to the average annual daily traffic, and we do that as a matter of routine. We know what June is with school out compared to what the rest of the months are. That's all, it's technical, but that's all contained in here. And as far as the hose being broken, it's broken routinely by plows, by whatever. Some people cut it. And I'm certainly not suggesting that's what happened here, but it's broken all the time by heavy trucks. But what we have right down the street, a couple of 100 feet down the street at Wood and Middlesex, we have people sitting in cars. And you can tell, we count for 3 hours at each of the locations. We count for 24 to 48 hours with the tubes. And we can tell from the peak hours that we manually count, which are very accurate, what the street should be. And it comes out within 500. So the number we reported, a little under 14,000, is accurate, not only based on the tube, but based on the people sitting at the intersections and counting. So
you're not totally dependent upon a box sitting on the road?
Absolutely not. No, there's a redundancy in our system.
I think that's an important point.
Yeah, no, we've done it quite some times.
Yeah. I'd just like to make a comment about the traffic study and the conclusions they've drawn. This Vaness and Associates Incorporated, they're located in the Andover. They seem to have done a very credible job here. This is a lot of information in our report. And I just want to point out that the acting transportation engineer for the city of Lowell, Ann Barton, says in this report, in short, I agree with the conclusions and the recommendations included in the report. The added vehicle trips will not have a significant effect on the level of service at the adjacent intersection. So, I mean, they've done a credible job. It's been endorsed by the city, so I have a hard time, with any of the traffic issues brought forward. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mary?
Thank you. First, I just want to thank everyone for coming out on such a warm night. I'm sure you'd rather all be somewhere else. At the last meeting, my big concern was traffic. I know this area very well. I'm from the neighborhood. I also know the reputation of this firm, whether they're hired by the developer or the city. They do a lot of work for the Commonwealth as well. And with the comments from the city engineer, traffic engineer, who concurs with this traffic study, although I'm not totally in favor, I'm not totally opposed, but I do want to see some type of appropriate roadway for the emergency vehicles. It's been outlined by the DPD that we have some type of a special fire lane around the property. I'm sure that will be done by the developer as well. And the landscaping, I'm sure, will be done correctly. And we all know that there's not going to be additional industrial use for this property. It's going to be sold. The present owner wants to sell it. He's not going to do any more development at that site. He's looking to consolidate. And I think housing is what is needed, and that is probably an appropriate location for it. That's all I have.
Joe?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd also like to thank all the neighbors for coming out once again to address your concerns. It's certainly helpful to the board to hear from everybody. I had just a couple of questions to follow up. One on the traffic study. I know you had mentioned something regarding monitoring it for a year and suggested signalization. I wasn't quite certain what you were referring to there.
I think as I speak, I'll look at the exact words, but what we suggested is that once it settles in, it doesn't have to be a year, whenever the city thinks it's long enough, we will monitor it and make sure everything's working well and properly, as we said. And then with the city's permission, we would suggest, in fact, we know what we're going to do. We could suggest it now, some timing and phasing changes in those signals to be run up the flagpole. One is the state highway. It has to go to District 4 in Arlington. So we would, in concert with the city, try to make some technical improvements in the operation of both of those intersections with your permission.
So basically, if they find there's some increase in traffic that may require adjustment of the signals in terms of...
Well, it isn't even that. I think, with respect, because we're not going to have... the normal daily fluctuation of Middlesex from a Monday to a Sunday is far in excess of what we're going to generate on a daily basis. So you'd get that normal fluctuation anyway. So the suggested changes we would have you consider are kind of based on what's there now. You can make it work a little bit better. We find that around the horn in many cities and towns in the Commonwealth that there's probably an old signal. It is. Probably in the 70s and hasn't been adjusted. And we can tweak it, we can change it, maybe a lead or a lag, things like that, can make it work more efficiently, less dwell time, et cetera, all the good stuff.
All right, thank you. With regard to the emergency access, which is the current access, as I understand it, to Bradford Industries, I think you had mentioned that that access now is maintained by way of an easement?
Right. Yes.
It's not
Correct.
owned,
Yes,
it's not owned
it's
by
an
the
easement,
applicant?
yes.
Okay. Is that easement a permanent easement that's going to be maintained for the emergency access?
It's an easement, and I think we're going to put some sort of different type of material down, Katie?
Right, basically, the easement runs out to Middlesex Street from the property line. It runs over heritage properties, and the easement is for right-of-way access. So what we're going to do is we're planning actually to leave this section of it as it is currently now, as heritage properties has it, and just to gate it at this location and actually decrease the pavement to the site so that it no longer looks like a site drive. It's going to be decreased to 12 feet and gated so that from our property line into our property, it looks different.
No, I understand how it's going to
Okay.
be finished with the
Sure.
with the gate, et cetera, but my concern is whether the easement that you have to
Yeah.
use that as an emergency access is a permanent easement. In other words, the owner of the property can't pull that away from you.
No, we have a permanent easement, yes.
Thank
It's- We have those rights.
All right, thanks. And just for the benefit of the neighborhood that came out, we did receive some responses back in regards to some of the comments that were raised by the neighborhood, some of the comments that were raised by Mr. Erickson, our planner, raised by the city engineer, raised by the neighbors, raised by Heritage Properties, and raised by the fire department. And again, without going through the entire list, each of the comments and concerns, I believe, were addressed in a letter from the engineer to the planning board dated July 14, 2006. Is that correct? Okay. All right. I have no other comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
I have a couple questions. So, since we've been basically on the traffic study, I'll start with that. So if I understand correctly, for 128 housing units, we're gonna have 63 cars going in and out in the AM. And 74 in and out in the PM.
That is correct. The peak hour of the PM.
I understand,
yeah.
I understand. I know what peak hours are. So I imagine there's gonna be children on that site, correct?
I didn't hear, I'm sorry.
Children on the site?
Yeah, I would.
And how would buses get to
don't
and
know
from
for
there?
sure.
Picked up on the outside street on Middlesex Street?
Yes, I would assume that's, depending on the school bus route, we can work with the school. with
And
the
how
school
would the
department.
children from all those units make it out to Middlesex Street?
So there's there's a sidewalk that basically connects all of the buildings to cross the access drive and comes all the way down to the corner at Middlesex Street, where it attaches
So
to
they
the
have to walk
existing-
out that access drive,
Exactly,
which is how long?
which is 400 feet long,
400 feet long? Okay.
which is sidewalked all the way from their
yeah.
building
That's right.
to the intersection where this,
Yep.
and connects with the existing sidewalk.
400 feet long, which goes through the wetlands, right?
True.
There's water there now? Okay. How deep is the water there now?
It is approximately 4 feet. And I believe it last time we had spoken about adding a fence along that area, and we'd be happy to do that, obviously, at the top
I
of
know
the
the water was
retaining
pretty
wall.
high when I was there Wednesday morning at 10:30. Very high. On the report from the fire department, they talked about the access around the back and on the sides. I didn't see anything in our packet about the fire department going along with the 450-foot entranceway.
I believe they reviewed the plans, and those were the only comments that they had were
Okay,
via...
so they didn't make any recommendation to us of whether we should give the variance for that 450-foot accessway.
Not on paper, not specifically, they did not. They only
right,
commented on the plan for those two sides of the building.
Because a lot of times when we ask for variance of that length, they usually do give us a comment, because that's one of the questions we had, and that was one of the questions I asked you at the last meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I called over there today, and the captain was on vacation last Friday, and the captain's on vacation today. We were going to get that specific question answered, but he was not there.
Because the other question I know is, what the neighbors have pulled up is, I'm trying to figure, I don't know where a bus would stop there, because I've been up there in the past a few times, and since we met last time, I've come again, and as the neighbors can testify too, there is parking all along that street on the right-hand side. You can barely now get through that entrance as it speaks now, which is the open way, with all the cars that are parked there, and that was, the last time I was there, it was 10:30 on a Wednesday morning. Yep.
Can't compete with him. Two things, what we've done in the past, the roadway is going to be widened, so there's at least a 24 full-width tangent section. There's going to be significant corner radii. So working with the school department, I think maybe we can do one of two things. It's going to be sort of in itself a turn-in area, so not totally off the street, but sort of in the parking lane, and even if he wants to pick up there. And the second...
Let me follow you up on that.
Yeah.
He's gonna pull down that way? No.
No, may I approach the...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Because
One of the things that we have done in several locations, and we'll work with the school department, is that, and I don't know which direction he's coming from, but either way he can do it. What we've done in
usually we'd be heading towards Chelmsford, then turn around and coming back.
okay.
Because our buses don't come from Chelmsford to bus people in Lowell.
All right. Well, two things we can do. If they want, we can get them on site. We do that in the town of Andover sometimes. We'll be happy to pull them in. I don't think there's any problem with that. And we can make a designated area perhaps in this location if that's acceptable to the school department. I'm not sure it is, but that's one of the things we do. The other is, may I draw on this? Because people go crazy when I do this in my office. But one of the things that could happen is coming this way, and I see this happen all the time, is the buses can pull in right to here. So they're off of the travelway. And we're going to prohibit the immediate area around this here for at least 25 feet. It's generally a city ordinance. There'll be no parking. We're going to ask for that. So what we have is a pretty long 24 plus another 10, maybe 40 to 50 feet of clear area as the mouth of the driveway opens up, that a bus can pull in and stay here and unload. That's out of the travel way of Middlesex, and then pull back in going this way. So that's one of the two options. We happy to
Put a
work
no
with-
parking spot in front of the people's residents who park there now.
No, I think what I'm saying is, we're gonna, the corner radii are gonna be larger. They're gonna be significant size, up to state standards. So from at least here to here, there'll be absolutely no parking. And that's the distance of 24, probably another 24, almost 50 feet. There's gonna be no parking in here.
But don't forget, that's a common driveway, right? Yes.
Yeah, correct. But I think...
People who live there now, and a gentleman who testified who was here last meeting, has the right to that driveway, correct? At least that's what was told to us last time we were here.
Right. The
And he
corner of his
testified to
driveway
that.
is right where this line is.
I'm sorry?
The corner of his driveway is
Yep.
right where this line is.
Yeah,
It's just this small area right here.
He has
He'll be able to
access-
continue to access over that,
right.
of course, yeah.
So if the bus is there, he's out of luck.
Well, there's plenty of room for and there's standard school buses, for a standard school bus to come in and do that. It can do one of two things. And
I don't see what a bus can pull over, to be honest with you. I mean,
Well-
I've been up there, I've sat there, I've watched, I couldn't pull over there.
It's hard to visualize from what it is now to what it will be.
Well-
And I would testify that there is sufficient room for a bus to do that. I go by, I go to my office.
Okay, so if
I
we
go
leave the
by
bus
one-
out there, the children have to walk out the 450-foot private way to get there, right?
I think that's probably a good thing in today's world, but this is not a significant number. It's probably a car a minute, as I said, in the morning. And in the evening, the peak hour is non-coincident. School buses come before the evening peak hour. So we have one peak hour to contend with, and I think I think we can do it either one of two ways.
So when you come in, you have the wetlands, then you have all the apartment areas, then behind that, you have the railroad tracks, then behind that, you have the river, right?
If I may, it's an isolated land subject to flooding, so it's just, we're not talking about a vegetated
No, I mean,
border.
but you go in there, I was there for about a
There
half
is
hour.
a flooded area, right, and we're using some of that flood storage area and we're creating it somewhere else. Therefore, we're not making any impact to that area.
But I'm saying, so where is the majority of your open space?
The open space is actually situated mostly between the buildings, so that they can use it to have a place between each of the buildings, to have a common area to play and to utilize, to have grass and plantings and...
So if they're gonna play there, what's the biggest area for common area to play in?
This is the largest common area, which is right in front of the community center.
Okay. So it's a mutual common area is what I'm getting at, yeah. And that area that you just showed me is part of the wetlands as well. You just went through the red area, right?
This area here
Yeah.
is not a wetland area.
No,
That's a
but
flood storage area.
The
This-
green, right there is wetland.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So most of the common areas is a common area to the side. There's all of these large common areas between each of the buildings and on the sides and around the buildings. There's more than the required amount under zoning for green space area on this site.
Okay, well, yeah. The concerns I have is, I think, my opinion, that roadway going in is way too long, number one. I think it doesn't access the site properly, not for that many units. And the fact that, if for parking, what do you have? 256 cars and you have, 30 extra spaces? I think basically by ripping down that home, what you're basically doing is you're demolishing one neighborhood to make a whole new neighborhood. And I've been thinking since the last meeting is, why do we get rid of one neighborhood to create a new one? And I haven't found an answer yet. And I've been thinking about it, and I've been thinking about it, and I've been thinking about it. And I've been going along with what the people have been saying since the last meeting for their safety concerns, their issues, that road's too long getting in. They live there, they've been there for a long period of time. I think they have rights to stay there. Once you've opened that up and cut it down, you're destroying that whole neighborhood to create a whole new neighborhood. And I think it definitely has an effect on health, safety, and welfare of the people in the neighborhood, but those are my personal concerns. I have no further comment. At this point in time, any other board members have anything to say as a result of what I said? Sure, go ahead, Richard.
Excuse me, on the entry roadways?
Lighted.
Yes, there is lighting located along there. It's shown in the lighting plan. I would have to check the plan. I believe it's on the same side as the sidewalk. It's shown in the lighting and landscaping plan. Which is... which is sheet 12, and it's located on the same side as the sidewalk.
Point in time, any, what's the request of the board?
And Mr. Chairman, I'd propose a motion to approve with conditions. Basically, we've heard that this project is going to be a redevelopment of the Bradford industrial site. It's a suburban mixed-use district, so I don't have the concerns that we're, eliminating the industry. Bradford is looking to get out, and they're going to get out. The question is, how is this going to be redeveloped in the manner that's best for the city and best for the neighborhood? I understand the concerns about the traffic, and I think that they've been addressed in a manner that we requested them to do in terms of the traffic study. But I will make a motion to approve the conditions that I'm going to suggest. One is that the letter from the engineer dated July 14, 2006 noted a number of modifications they're going to make to the plan pursuant to the requests of the planner and various other agencies. I'm going to ask that that be incorporated as a condition of the approval. I'd make it subject to the fire department approval of the length of the access road. Even though they've reviewed the plan, I don't think they've given a specific approval of the length of the access road, so we'd need that in writing from them. That there be a safety fence installed around the drainage area. If that's going to fill to an area, to a depth rather, of about 4 feet, that a safety fence be put around the perimeter of that drainage area, and that the fence be done in consultation with the DPD design planner. No parking within 25 feet of the mouth of the entrance of that entranceway. I believe that's a city ordinance anyway, if I'm not mistaken. And that some sort of an appropriate bus stop be dealt with, either at the mouth of that entrance or further into the site. I understand if it's a school bus, the cars can't pass anyway, whether they're going in and out of that project or up and down Middlesex Street. If a school bus stops, they have to stop, let the kids in and out. So I'll make those as a condition.
I'll second the motion and just re-emphasize the bus stop for the children, that you work with the school department in creating that, either on the street or internal to the site.
There's a motion made and seconded, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes no. Votes 3-1 in favor.
You're taking 2 votes, Mr. Chairman. We have a site plan approval, and we have a special permit.
No problem.
I'll make the same motion on the special permit.
Let me back up that. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. You want to do one motion at a time? Okay.
One at a time.
Go
We'll
ahead.
take the first vote as a site plan vote, and I'll make the same motion as the special permit.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes no. So the vote is 3-1 on the special permit, and the vote is 3-1 on the site plan.
Thank you.
Therefore, the special permit carries the, the special permit is denied and the site plan is approved. Thank you. Thank you all very much for coming down. Appreciate your help. Thank you. While people are moving out, the next matter will be taken up in a minute, will be the 900 Lawrence Street matter. Put that in there. Thanks, Joe. Sure, they can check with Jim in the morning. Yeah, just have them call planning and development in the morning, and Jim can explain it to them, okay? No problem. Right, what happened is a special permit, they needed 4 votes, they only got 3. So the special permit was denied, the site plan was allowed. You're welcome. Okay. The next matter is site plan special permit, 900 Lawrence Street. The Lowell Planning Board will review an application by Canal Side Realty Trust for the site plan and special permit review of the development of the property located at 900 Lawrence Street. The proposal includes the demolition of the existing building on site and the construction of existing 16 new townhouse-style units on a 29,589 square foot lot located in a TMU, which is Traditional Neighborhood Mixed-Use Zoning District. The existing parking lot will be modified to include 35 parking spaces for the project. This project requires site plan approval under section 11.4 and special permit approval under Article 12 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. Site plan and special permit applications will be heard concurrent for this project. At this point in time, when we hear the applicant, please.
Mr. Chairman, James Flood, 81 Bridge Street, Lowell, Mass., representing Canal Side Realty Trust. With me is Eddie Partika, who's the trustee, Dean Jenkins, who will be working with Mr. Partika in developing the project, Chris Lorraine from Lentech Engineering. I think the board is familiar with this property. We were back before you in July of last year to renovate and to do over the existing mill building at the site. Since that time, we've studied it, and we felt that with the development in the neighborhood, it might be best to demolish the building and come in with 16 townhouses. And Chris, if you could show the rendering in the back, we can show you what we would intend to do. It'd be a row of 16 townhouses along with the canal in the background, and we think it's more conducive to the neighborhood because there is some development across the street, and we think it looks better. And to do the development in the old mill would have taken a lot of work, and it's a lot of it would have had to be replaced. So we think this is better. Each of the units would have a basement, first floor with a kitchen and a dining area, and 2 bedrooms. The parking is the same it was before, same number of units. We have plenty of parking on site. Because of the fact that we're going to demolish the building and build within the footprint, we still have to go back to the Board of Appeals to get their approval. There's a question whether, according to the building department, he didn't think I had to get a variance for the setbacks, but I'm going to ask the board for that if necessary, and we do have to get a special permit to allow us to demolish and rebuild on the site. So since you're familiar with it, I'll turn it over to Chris. He can explain the engineering, which is basically, I think, the same as the last time, and we can answer any further questions that the board might have.
Before he goes, I mean, I know we've approved this in the past, and I think you've changed because before you're going to build on that current building, under the 8.2, correct?
We're going to renovate the existing building.
So that's why I had to come back, because now you want to
We want to tear that down and put 16 townhouse units on the site.
Okay, and anybody who's curious exactly where the location is on 900 Lawrence Street, right across the street is that Kerwin Playground?
The park, yes.
Right, they call it that's that little stone there says Kerwin Playground. And then it's right before, if you're going down a little further, on your right-hand side, you'd have Moore Street, and prior to that, you'd have Eddy Street.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, please, sir, thank you.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, for the record, again, my name is Chris Lorraine. I'm president of Lantech Consultants in Westford, Massachusetts. As Jim had mentioned to you, approximately a year ago, this project was approved in this format, as you see, with the existing mill building as shown, the parking and the modifications as shown on this rendering. The new rendering has been shown to incorporate all of the previously approved features, with the exception of the footprint of the building itself. The actual footprint is slightly smaller than the mill building. The footprint of the mill building comes up in this location and through here. For approximately a 5,000 square foot, 4,900 to 5,000 square foot reduction in impervious area and an impervious lot coverage on the site itself. Because of the reduction in impervious area on the lot, obviously the only impact to the drainage system would be to reduce the amount of drainage on the development itself in the proposal that you see before you. However, it's not a substantial reduction in drainage. Therefore, we have left all the drainage in place as was approved on the previous plan. It is serviced by a water quality inlet so that there will be some treatment to the stormwater as opposed to what currently exists on the site, which is no treatment to stormwater. There would be modifications made in accordance with the original approved design, which would include water quality treatment and meet in compliance with DEP stormwater management for the development itself. As the hearing notice identified, there are 35 parking spaces, which were previously approved, are still in the configuration as shown to service the 16 units. The areas that you see in through here are essentially steps leading from each of the individual buildings out in through this area and through here, and landscaped, more or less landscaped courtyards before the entrances, between the entrances to each one of the units themselves. If the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
If I may, oh, sorry, briefly, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, go ahead.
Just for the record, this is a brand-new project, and any previous approvals are therefore
Null and void.
null and void. I just want to make that known for the record. There's a lot of discussion about the previously approved project, but this is a brand-new project and therefore must be acted upon as such.
This is a new project, but
Right.
I don't say, I wouldn't say at this
So the other
point that the other one's null and void.
Well, for the purposes of the approval here tonight,
Tonight,
this is a
correct.
brand-new
Okay.
project. You can still act on that old
Yeah,
approval,
we could
but I'm
act
just
on the other
saying,
one, yeah.
So for
for this
clarification,
night, this is, yes.
for clarification, if we don't approve this, you have the prior approval of the last plan,
Right.
which you could develop on.
But,
Right, okay.
but the reason we're here, we think this is more conducive to the
So
neighborhood.
basically, like I said earlier, you tried to reconstruct inside the structure that was there now, and now you figure it's better to demolish and start anew.
Right.
Okay.
And I've reviewed comments from staff, and we have no problems with any of them. I think last time we agreed to work with DPD on the landscaping. We'll put the, everything, we'll put the boxes in the back. We'll give an easement for the drainage system, all of that stuff. We have no problem with those. But like I said, I think the design, and as you can see from the rendering of this project, seems to be more in character with the neighborhood and the type of homes that are over
The
there.
site layout itself is like, it's kind of long, it's not very deep in the back, correct?
And it's pretty. I think it'll look pretty. It's going to be brick fronts on them, and it's going to be very, very nice.
Okay.
So we're here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to speak on behalf of the applicant at this time before I turn it over to the public? Mr. Flood, do you have anything else with?
I don't think.
Okay. Hearing none at this point in time. Anybody here like to speak in favor? Anybody want to speak in favor? In favor? Hearing none. Anybody here in opposition? Anybody want to speak against? Opposition? Opposition? Hearing none, I'll turn it over to the board members. Rich, I'll start with you again. Do you have any questions or concerns?
Just a couple of Excuse me. Just a couple of questions. There's a park directly across the street from this development?
Yes.
You going to do anything to facilitate, walking, people walking over to that park, to utilize it?
I don't think we had planned anything, and I don't think we did last time. I think it's,
I remember something about it the last time.
if there was something in the, I can pull the other decision out. If we did it before, we'll do it again, but I don't
I
remember.
just think it would be a very nice thing to do.
You want a painted line across or something?
Yeah, just something simple.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. That's easy.
Crosswalk, Rich, you have something like that?
Yeah,
Like a crosswalk that's
just
marked?
so people can utilize the park and feel safe about it.
No problem.
Just one other question, and some of the verbiage here talks about a 4-foot stockade fence along the, in addition to the plantings, a 4-foot tall stockade fence would be proposed along the eastern lot line adjacent to the canal. I assume that's for safety and aesthetic purposes as well?
Along the easterly lot line would be along this area here to prevent access to the canals for safety.
Yes, okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rich. Mary, any questions or concerns?
This is for 16 units. How many parking spots on this?
35.
35. Trash will be private or city? Trash removal, private or city?
It's private. Private, yeah.
I remember this area from before. I didn't get to see it this week. I wish I had. But I know that it's desperately in need of repair, so I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have you applied for the variances at this
Not
point?
yet.
Or- Okay.
Yeah.
I don't really have a question, but I have a comment. I'm not opposed to the project. We approved the 16 units to be rehabbed the last time. I think it will certainly dress up the area. But I have a concern with the manner in which we're doing it. We have an ordinance that says, you know, we can rehab an existing building based upon what's there now, and that's what you have your original approval on. If that building were to be gone, you couldn't put 16 units there anymore. You could put, I think 11 units was the computation. So the concern I have is if we're taking a look at not this project, but some other building that nobody will want to rehab, but they'll, you know, seek some sort of an approval to rehab it, only to knock it down later and try and get the maximum number of units. Again, this particular project, I don't really have a concern with. My preference, and I'm just speaking for myself, I'd like to see the variance go through before I would be in favor of voting on the site plan. I would like to see that addressed by the Board of Appeals. It's a different criteria than what we deal with here. I would like to see that looked at, and if they were in favor of a variance for the project, I don't think I'd have a problem with this particular project.
But as you know, we can't go in front of, under the new zoning ordinance, we can't go in front of the Board of Appeals until we come here, because any conditions you place on it has to be included in their variance.
I think that under 4.57, reconstruction after demolition is only after the ZBA has granted a special permit for
Special
the
permit.
project. That's my understanding of how
But
it
under the
works.
zoning, any time that we have to get site plan approval and then go to the Board of Appeals, we have to come here first, and any variance or anything they issue, they have to include your conditions. I don't know the section. Do you know what it is, James?
In this case, it's a unique case. I'd like to refer it maybe to the legal counsel in the city, but I believe that, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I just think the general process by which we do handle approvals that go both in front of the planning board and the zoning board of appeals is that the planning board makes its decision, and that's wrapped into the decision of the zoning board of appeals. We can review maybe the process by which, if a variance is being sought separate from a special permit, maybe the variance can be sought first, then go to the site plan review, and then go back for the special permit, though I'd like to review that with our legal counsel first to see if that is a legal process that we can even follow. I'm not sure if that's the process by which we can follow. I'm just trying to think of something here that may
That was
appease
my
people.
understanding, and that's why we're here.
Right. That's my understanding as well, which is the process.
But I mean, any approval you grant, any approval that you grant, Jay, could be, Joe, would be subject to us obtaining the appropriate special permit and variance, if necessary, from the Board of Appeals.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying, and I think this may even talk about a case where site plan is not required, but it says, in the event of demolition and reconstruction, special permit shall be required from the Board of Appeals prior to such demolition. And that's talking about the demolition special permit, not the variances.
Not the variances, no.
Right. So I'm not certain under these circumstances whether you would have to go there first or come to us first. I just
I don't have an answer for you. I wish I did, but I don't. But I mean, that's been my procedure on all of these. We always come here first.
Well, let me ask flat out, maybe the board doesn't have the same concern I have, but would there be any objection to a 2-week continuance while we looked into that issue on the developer's part?
I don't think you're going to meet for another month.
Oh, that's true. To the next meeting?
Yeah, in August, and I intend to get in by then. I don't know when the hearing would be, but
No, I'm just asking if there's any objection to that.
well, I have to go to the Board of Appeals anyways, and I don't know when I would be in front of them. I'm going to file.
Right.
So.
Again, what's it? Right. I know he needs a special permit from the ZBA. He's also going to need some variances as well, setback variances.
Well, Joe
Which
Guthrie's-
normally you get the site plan review and then you get the setback variances. But in this case, you need a permit from the
I don't
ZBA
get
for this
site-
type of a project.
If I don't get the site plan review, then I can't get the variance, so, I mean, it's,
Again, maybe I'm thinking down the road, I'm not looking to set a precedent. I don't have a problem with this project. I think it's a great project. It'll greatly enhance the neighborhood, and I won't be the stick in the mud to hold the thing up, so I have no further comments or questions, Mr. Chairman.
The only questions I have, Mr. Flood, did you see the memo we got from Mr. Erickson, July 13th? Get a chance to read? Oh, wait.
what was that, John?
We had some comments from Mr. Erickson, a letter July 13th. Most of them just talk about dumpsters on site, electric meters, water meters, final landscaping, approval from conservation. You have to go to ZBA. Do you
Yes.
receive a copy of that letter?
I did.
Do you have any concerns
no,
about that? Are you in
I-
agreement with all these requests?
I think I said that earlier.
Yeah,
I said I
okay.
had no problem with
I
those.
just wanted to double check, okay.
Yep.
I know when we voted for it last time, I approved it last time. I'm in favor of it this time. I know, basically, it'll help clean up the sidewalk. Leaving the sidewalk there now is in disarray. You know, when I walked it just the other day, you could tell that. And I know you have, industry behind you, big stack there, whatever it is. And that's, what's the name of that company now? I can't think of it right now. It's the one behind you, behind the water. You know which one I mean? Well, you can see it from your driveway. You look behind you, you see the big stack coming out. Yeah, I mean, look, when you're standing in your driveway and look straight behind the water, peaks up, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's basically consistent with the neighborhood up there. I don't think you have as much traffic issue up there compared to a lot of other parts of the city. And I have no problem with it. I didn't have a problem with it the last time. I think it'll help beautify the area. Now it's just I don't know how long it's been vacant. It's been a while, I know that. And I think it would add to the neighborhood, and I think it would be,
Yeah.
how long's it been?
2 years? 2 years.
2 years? Yeah, I know it's been a couple of years at least, because I drive through that way sometimes, but I have no problems with that. I have no further comments. At this point in time, what's the wish of the board?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion's made. Any discussion, second by the board members?
I'll second that motion. I understand there were probably some conditions on the earlier approval. I know it's a brand-new approval, but we should probably incorporate those conditions in this site plan as well.
If I have it, Joe. I don't know if I have it or not.
Don't we?
I don't think I do. But I have no problem with that. I don't have it, it's in a separate file.
Did you give us a copy of, I'm sorry. I thought I saw one in our packet, a copy of the conditions last time, or no?
I don't believe I included it for this
I think it was
approval.
another project I looked at,
It was
sorry.
for another one. If it's okay with everybody, I can include those conditions as an approval. For future reference, I'd like to actually separate those in the future. But if it's okay with the applicant, I can include those
I
as...
can't hear you, Jim.
He basically he's saying is, he wants to make sure if he pulls up any of those conditions, that you're aware of the conditions that we had before, make sure that you're aware of the new conditions on the new site, and he'd like to have you get a copy of those, we'll give a copy to the board members here, and see if you have any concerns about those, and if need be, come back before us and we can iron them out.
Okay.
I mean, what his understanding is, hopefully it's your understanding, and there's no confusion in between.
But if we don't have any problem with them, we don't have to come back.
Correct.
Right, no
So
problem.
he's gonna pull up the old plan,
Yeah.
look at the conditions, as long as they're the same, there's no problems, he'll give you a copy of those. We'll incorporate that, as incorporated by reference, as the earlier decision, with the same comment.
I'll pull it
And if
out,
the-
I'll pull it out tomorrow and talk to
Yeah.
him.
And if-
I have it right in my,
and
it's in another file. I
And
just
if Jim
didn't
has a question on it, he can contact the board members, and we can reconvene and work it out.
Okay.
Okay? That okay? That's satisfactory to you, Jim? You have any questions in regards to that?
That should be fine.
Okay. Okay, so there's a motion made.
So we've got those conditions, Mr. Chairman. I think also the crosswalk that Rich talked about earlier should be incorporated as a condition, and obviously getting the special permit from the ZBA and the variances that you,
Variance if necessary.
if we can add those.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes. Body is approved, 4-0. Thank you very much. Good luck. The next matter we'll be getting to shortly will be the 1320 Gorham Street, as people clear up. The next matter will be the site plan and special permit, 1320 Gorham Street. The Lowell Planning Board will review an application by Steve McGuire for a site plan and special permit review of the development of property located on 1320 Gorham Street. The proposal includes the addition of a duplex-style building on the 8,250 square foot lot where there exists a single-family dwelling for a total of 3 units on the site. The proposal also includes required parking and landscaping. The site is located in the TMU, which is the Traditional Neighborhood Mixed-Use Zoning District. The project requires special permit and site plan review under Section 9.4 and Section 11.4 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. Site plan and special permit applications will be heard concurrently for this project. Will you please hear that? Kate, the applicant, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Kenneth Lanier, K&M Land Consultants, representing the applicant this evening. Also with me is Mr. Flood, who's been pretty busy, so I think he's taking a little break. We're before you tonight, as you had said, to request a special permit to be allowed to construct a duplex dwelling on a lot located at 1320 Gorham Street. We were before you last month on a preliminary for this project. We did come before you regarding the type of dwelling that we were hoping to construct, as well as a preliminary site plan showing the project. Since that time, we have had the opportunity to make some revisions to the plan, as well as speak with some of the neighbors in the neighborhood. We were able to conduct a neighborhood meeting last week. I believe some of those neighbors are here this evening. If you don't mind, I'd approach the table to pass out some revised information.
Step forward, Ken. No problem. The next one we can give Jim over there? Okay. I'll pass my check, so he's on board with us. You should keep the notes.
To just go quickly over the revisions, and then I'll go into some of the comments that were sent to us by the DPD staff. Originally, when we came before you, Mr. Chairman, we were requesting the construction of a townhouse-style duplex unit with garage under spaces, as well as to allow for 2 additional spaces for the existing dwelling. The size of the structure was a little bit larger than what we're anticipating here. As you can see on the renderings that we handed out, we're proposing to do a 2.5-story duplex unit. Each unit would be 17 by 34. We would be providing for 2 parking spaces for each individual unit on the lot. The lot does measure over 8,200 square feet. In this zone, we're allowed to put each unit having 2,500 square feet. What we did is try to take into consideration some of the neighborhood area, lower the dwelling rather than going with a 3.5-story townhouse condo. We took the suggestion of the board and incorporated a nicer style duplex that goes along with the same type of existing dwellings that are in the neighborhood out in that area on Corbett Street as well as Cosgrove Street. In addition to that, we did receive some comments from the engineering department. One of the main comments from Mr. Curran was that he'd like to see some type of stormwater system on the property. I did talk to Mr. Curran today and did let him know that we'd be able to do a rooftop recharge system on the property. He felt that that was sufficient as far as the utilities were being conducted on the property. He felt that that would handle the stormwater runoff sufficiently. We wouldn't mind if the board was to make that a condition this evening to incorporate that into the decision. We'd also, just to answer some of the other questions, the utilities themselves are going to be taken off Corbett Street. We will be providing sewer water from Corbett Street, and I did speak to Mr. Curran about that as well. I think that the DPD staff did incorporate some information regarding the fact that we had not turned in the individual duplex renderings that were requested. We did provide those this evening. We were hoping that we were going to be able to make some final tweaks to that plan should any of the neighborhood have any concerns about the duplex dwelling that we were going to construct. There were some comments at the neighborhood meeting that did come up. I don't believe that any of them actually were opposed to the duplex dwelling unit that we had. Most of the information that we had obtained at that meeting was a concern with parking, a concern with the fact that there's additional traffic at that intersection that people believed would cause an additional problem with this project. The site is zone TMU. We do have the ability to do several different types of designs on the property by right. It is an 8,000 square foot lot. We are able to do this type of development residentially as well as commercial. We could do many things along the lines of a restaurant, less than 5,000 square feet. We also have the opportunity to do some office space and retail. The applicant would rather see a neighborhood-type dwelling be put into the development rather than going that route. In addition, he does have a good tenant staying at 1320 Gorham Street right now, which hopefully will purchase the unit once this project's completed. And a couple of the other concerns that were brought up were snow storage. What we've done on the plan, Mr. Chairman, is we've actually provided some snow storage areas at the rear of each parking, and in between the two parking areas for the duplex dwelling unit is a good-sized landscaped area for snow storage. And we do provide the required usable open space between the units. There's 19 feet between those two units, which is about typical for that neighborhood area. There's about 20 to 25 feet between some of the buildings. You can see that in the area photography that was in the application package sent in for the meeting this evening. At this time, I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
We have none at this time, Ken, thank you. I'm sure we'll come back to you in a minute. Do you have anybody else with you who'd like to speak, Ken? Anybody on behalf of the applicant? Or if not, I'll turn it over to the public. Okay. Anybody like to speak in favor? Anybody present want to speak in favor? In favor? Hearing none, in favor? Anybody like to speak in opposition? Yes, can you come to the microphone, state your name and address, please? Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Joyce Burgess. I live at 33 Corbett Street. I've lived in the neighborhood for 59 years. I've lived on Corbett Street for 38 years. This is my neighborhood. My mother was born on Bowden Street. I see that corner, that particular corner is such a hazard, and it's between the package store, the variety store, and cars coming out of Spencer Street, taking a right and then a left onto Corbett Street. It's like a nightmare. I've come up Corbett Street and almost got into the corner and had cars come down Gorham Street and cut right across in front of me into the package store. Now, I realize that this isn't in relationship to the building that they want to put up, but it all impacts my quality of life. The turnover of the cars pulling into and out of the package store and the variety store are at least every 5 or 10 minutes. They go in, they buy the mega bucks or buy whatever and come out and that, so you've constantly got cars backing in and out, pulling in, backing out. Cars coming onto, like I said, coming out of Spencer Street, they pull onto Corbett Street. When you drive, and one of the things I noticed on the plan that we received in the mail, it said that the street was 40 feet wide. Well, I went out and measured it, and curb to curb, it's 28 feet wide because we don't drive on the sidewalks. And there's 6 feet of sidewalks on each side. So if you take and have cars parked on each side of that street, if a car is coming up the street, you have to stop and allow another car to go by because you can't fit two cars side by side. Take and put that up at the corner, at that corner where they want to put this building, and you have an unbelievable traffic hazard. I can't tell you how many accidents have been at that corner long before this particular venture even came. I even had to go to court to testify against one of them. During the wintertime, it's even worse. They talked about snow storage, and they're talking about having to put on the land, but it still creates a problem going in and out of the street right in that area. You're talking about driving up the street and having to contend with cars pulling in and out on your right-hand side. Now they want to have 6 additional vehicles pulling out on your left-hand side. It's just too congested a street in an area. I've been there, I lived there. My mother worked at Haynes's greenhouses when the greenhouse was there. I've seen them put 2 more houses on Corbett Street in that spot. I saw them put 2 more houses on Cosgrove Street on that particular property, and there's a good-sized house on that property now, in addition to the building that they want to put there now. Corbett Street is like a freeway. They come down Corbett Street, I can't tell you how fast they drive down Corbett Street. And we're talking about putting six more vehicles in there. The street itself is a problem, but like I said, and now I cannot see, when this gentleman spoke about no one being in opposition to having a duplex, I wasn't here. I was up in Maine when the neighborhood meeting was held, and my husband went, and quite a few of the neighbors. I definitely would be in opposition to a duplex. It's like putting a duplex on a postage stamp. He keeps talking about 8,000 square feet or whatever, but there isn't that for that particular duplex because you already have a good-sized house on that property. I went up today to look at I was taking pictures around there, and when you look, I took a picture of the lot, and I can't believe even, comprehending putting a duplex on that piece of property. They put condos at the end of the street, they put Lowell Crossing, they all drive down Corbett Street, believe me. They all go down to go around the corner. I realize, like I said, I'm not opposed to having expansion, but this is not the place to do it. We have 177 to 190 houses going on Gorham Street up at the Julian Steel project. That's going to increase the traffic on Gorham Street. It's going to increase the number of people going in and out of this variety store. It's going to increase the people going in and out of the package store. Trust me. I mean, I've lived there long enough to know and to see this the traffic increase to a point where you're afraid to let the kids go outside. I have grandchildren that live down the street, and I can't tell you when I hear a car go by or I hear the traffic that's there go by, and my heart's in my throat thinking that hoping that they're in the house, that they're not out there. And like I said, this is all compounded by the fact that that particular corner is a hazardous place, and that's my biggest concern. So, like I said, that's my opposition to the project, and I think there's some other neighbors that have wished to speak too. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you. Anybody like to speak in opposition? Anybody else? Yes, sir. The gentleman in the back first, go ahead, please.
Yeah, my name's Don Willett, 10 Cosgrove Street. I have to agree with her 100%. Everything I wanted to say, she said, except for also having the home where they want to design it, a duplex right there in front of that other home. There's talk about snow removal. I do plow, and they say snow storage. I'm sorry, that ain't happening. Also, you're going to have kids. Where are the kids going to play? I talked to you about that. You said there was 20 feet. 20 feet. 20 feet for 3, 4 kids. And then he says, well, the cars are going to be parked here. So basically, they have 20 feet to play between houses and in a driveway. So if somebody scratches somebody else's car, and kids will do that. I know I have 3 grandkids, so I know how that goes. And with the traffic, like she said, the traffic is just incredible on that corner in the summertime, right now. And when the wintertime comes, it's even worse because everything gets pushed up and it's harder to see. It's a real nightmare. So, especially with the kids. I mean, there's no place, and if people come over, Thanksgiving, you have families come over, there's no place for them to park. The place will be just totally congested. You have three families living there, 6 cars. Now you have 3 more families visiting each family. Where are they all going to park? There is no place to park. You can't park over at the store or the liquor store because that's always jammed. It really be a problem. I guess that's about it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes, sir. I think you got a hand up over here, sir.
Thank you very much for letting me a chance to speak. My name is Paul Hogan. I live at 125 Dalton Street in Lowell. I like to repeat, I agree with everything that Joyce said. There's a very narrow intersection. Speaking on behalf of my mother and sister who live on Cosgrove Street, on adjacent street to Corbett Street. I see a potential problem. I guess Joyce mentioned that if these buildings are built, the homeowners probably would like to park adjacent on the street, adjacent to the buildings, but that would be right at the corner of Corbett and Gorham Street. If they did park at that area, it would probably cut the street at an intersection in half and would be safety problems with fire trucks. I don't think they could make that turn onto Gorham Street if there's cars parked on next to the new duplex buildings. Also, the traffic up in that area, if cars were parked on the street at that intersection, I don't think they could go onto Gorham Street. It would be just too narrow to get by their traffic. I was told that, as I understand it, there's a city ordinance saying that you're not allowed to park within 50 feet of an intersection. So a possible solution would be to post no parking right there at that corner of Gorham and Corbett Street. And if people didn't park along the side of that house, it may free up the intersection a little bit so traffic can flow back and forth. There's a general concern also about the actual increased traffic on Gorham Street. From Julian Steel Housing Project down to the Lowell Connector, I've noticed a huge increase in traffic the last couple of years, and there has been new buildings down Gallagher Square that's just coming online. There's a new 5 or 6 huge building complex on Burker off Gorham Street that is just about to come online. Julian Steel, in a couple of years, will be having over 150 or so families, all going to be dumping onto Gorham Street, which already is very high traffic flow. So people trying to get onto Gorham Street, on Corbett Street, Cosgrove Street, Bolden Street, Weed Street, those streets dumping onto Gorham Street, I think they will have an extremely hard time once all this traffic comes onto Gorham Street. So I'm wondering if there's some way we could have a representative from maybe the Lowell Planning Board to come to the Sacred Heart Neighborhood Center meeting, where they are a big concern because they have their Moore Street dumping onto Gorham Street, which is also a large traffic area. So the two concerns would be on the corner of Corbett and Gorham Street. If people park at that corner, it would narrow the area to be safety and high traffic. And then the general concern of what will be a huge increase of traffic in the next couple of years when all this new construction go on, that is being dumped onto Gorham Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Yes, sir, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. My name is Joseph McNamara. I live at 26 Cosgrove Street. I've been a resident of Swede Village, a great place to live, almost 40 years. On our street alone, on Cosgrove Street, we've seen 6 new houses. When I moved into my home, I had room for 1 car in a driveway. It ended up I had 5 cars in my own house. The children have gone, but I still have 6, 7 cars at different times of the year. And parking is tremendous. But what I see on this piece of property, and all I remember it is, as Bill and Bertha Haynes' garden, and she made the best pepper relish there was, because I worked for her. and it's just a garden plot. And now they want to put a duplex on it, right on the corner, which is, my neighbors have said, it's the most dangerous corner up there. We have traffic. You cannot believe what goes on at that intersection on a Friday night or a Saturday night with the store there. I know it's got nothing to do with the man that wants to build the house. Granted, the plans, the house looked beautiful. Too bad he didn't arrive sooner. That's all I can say. But we have to deal with what we have now. And that is not the place to put a duplex. All you're going to do is you're going to create a Wright Street all over again. I grew up in Pawtuckaville when Whitney's owned that corner property at the corner of Woodward Avenue and Wright Street. That was a beautiful piece of property. Now it's a total mess. And you're going to do the same thing to our good Swede Village, and I oppose it wholeheartedly. Our quality of life is going down. I think it's time you did something for the neighbors, and I don't think it's the proper place. I get a big kick out of 8,200 square feet, but we already have a big house on there, and we're going to add 2 more. The minimum is 25,000, 2,500 square feet. I have 3,700 square feet, and it's not enough. And this is going to be almost 1,000 square feet less. It's just not right. It might be right for today, but 20 years from now, you're making a slum out of our area. You cannot let that happen. I oppose it. I know my neighbors do. Leo Sheridan was here, but he had to go home. He couldn't take the heat, and his wife is sick. But he lives on Cosgrove Street, and he feels the same way. It's just not right to put a building on that little tiny plot of land. It's going to cause nothing but confusion. It's going to cause accidents. And while you're at it, you can also check I think it's an illegal exit out of that parking lot at the package store. You actually got 2 intersections there because they've somehow lowered the curb years ago. And that's wrong because it just makes that whole intersection that much more dangerous. Now adding the houses there's going to be parking on Gorham Street. There has to be. There's no place else to park. Nobody ever parked on Gorham Street. The only time you saw cars parked on Gorham Street was when the greenhouse was there, and they were there just during business hours. But now you're going to have cars parked there 24/7, and it's just too dangerous. I oppose it, and I just hope that you take the neighbors' considerations and judge it on that. It's just not right. It doesn't belong there. The lot is too small. It's in the wrong position. It's just going to cause confusion, and you got to think of the future. There's no empty space left in Lowell. The village is being raped. It's simple as that, and we can't let that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am, if you would, please.
My name is Cindy Keith, and I live at 31 Corbett. I've been there since 1972, and what everybody has said, I agree 100%. When we were talking to this gentleman last Thursday night, I think he said tonight, everybody there, no one opposed. That's 100% wrong. Everybody there opposed that duplex going up. And there's just a couple of things. The liquor store and the variety store, the workers park right in front of that house. When they have company, what are their visitors going to do? Where are they going to park? There is no room anywhere. When they plow, I don't know where the snow's going to go because we are so crowded now. And the thing is, it's just the worst place to put a duplex, and I hope you will see that and not allow it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Barbara Hoare, and I live at 35 Corbett Street. I agree with everything that has been said, both by Joyce and Joe. There's no need of standing here and repeating it on such a hot night, but I definitely oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, at this point in time, I'll turn it over to the board members. Rich, you want to start again, since I've been starting with you all night? You have any questions or concerns?
Well, yeah, I have some serious concerns about, after listening to the neighbors up there. If you look at the sketch of the area, the character of the neighborhood are sizable lots with single buildings on these individual lots. And it just seems totally out of character up there to put a duplex next to a single-family home on a questionable corner. I question, as one gentleman brought up, the need for snow storage. And although the numbers may work out here, it's just too congested. I'm really not in favor of the project. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mary, any questions or concerns? Thank you, Rich.
I'll keep my remarks very brief. Enough is enough.
Well, 3.5 stories.
Okay? This house was just bought for this reason, to build a house. No consideration for the neighborhood. This is not what the city council had intended when it rewrote the zoning bylaw. And frankly, I mean, I can ask all the questions about snow storage. We know trash will be picked up by the city, but my decision is made. This is not appropriate.
Thank you. Joe, questions or concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This particular project is under Section 9.4, which I think is titled Neighborhood Character Special Permit. Certainly we have to review whether the project would enhance the character of the existing neighborhood. It may be a nice project, but not on this site. It's way too tight. It's all building, it's all cars, it's all driveway. How you're gonna get in and out of that driveway, I'm not even certain. But in my opinion, it's way too tight for this particular site, and I would not be in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I basically have the same concerns the other board members have. I was up there last Wednesday morning. I was looking at the site. I know that the house that's on there now is a big, big house. I didn't have a copy of the plan at the time, so I was trying to envision in my own mind which way the two-family would go on the lot. Obviously, it had to come towards Corbett Street because there's nowhere to go. I did notice a lot of traffic, as indicated by the neighbors across the street at the liquor store as well as the variety store, but that's not this gentleman's project, but I did notice that traffic there because there isn't a curb cut, as one gentleman mentioned, from Gorham Street all the way down past the variety store. There was a lot of traffic up in the neighborhood. I did notice people, there was a big red Hummer parked right in front of the house on Corbett Street. I don't know who owns that, but I think the duplex is too big for that lot, and I'm not in favor of it. So at this point in time, what's the request of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for denial based upon neighborhood character. I don't believe that this particular lot with two buildings on it is in character with the rest of the neighborhood. It's also a 3.5-story building, and I believe our notes indicate, and I've looked at the site myself, that generally speaking, we're looking at 2.5 stories, excuse me, with the buildings around here. I just believe it's too congested. So I make a motion for denial.
The motion on the floor, anyone want to second that motion?
Second.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes yes. The project,
We also, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, we also have to consider the special permit.
right. So Rich, we're voting on the special permit and the site plan, or you want to take them one at a time so we can?
I'll make the same motion for the
Okay.
special permit.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes, so therefore we vote for nothing against the special permit and against the site plan. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down on a warm night. Appreciate it. Let's see. Our next matter will be 790 Chelmsford Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. My name is George Cielides Jr., 133 Market Street, Lowell. And I'm here this evening with Brian Clancy from National Development and Ken Staffier from VHB.
So just to let everybody know, that completes our public hearings. And now we're going to take up what we call our pre-application sessions, where applicants come before the board to give us input on plans that they feel they want to bring to us in the future and ask us for some input. So this matter will be 790 Chelmsford Street. The applicant is Connected Park Holding Company, National Development. The project will be construction of Lowe's Home Improvement Store. The zoning is an HRC, which stands for High Rise Commercial. and the required review will be a site plan. And so at this point in time, we're at the pre-application plan, which is for information and input from who's ever present and from the board members. So at this point in time, as indicated, I will turn it over to council, who just identified himself. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It really gives me great pleasure to be here tonight for, on behalf of National Development and Lowe's. I'm just so pleased that we're able to bring a preliminary site plan review before you for something that I think is going to be fabulous for the city of Lowell. Lowe's is a Fortune 50 company. It's been rated as one of the top retail organizations by Fortune magazine. They're a top-notch outfit, and they want to bring a 160,000 square foot retail center to Lowell, not to southern New Hampshire, not to Tewksbury, Billerica, Tingsboro, or any of the other places, to Lowell. And I'm personally so happy that they're doing that. I think that it's important to note right at the outset that these folks are doing it the right way. This is not new. This is not something that's just come into the city. Months ago, Mr. Clancy met with city officials to indicate to them their interest in this particular site. And from that point on, with the very valuable assistance of the Division of Planning and Development, who gave them some ideas and things along the way, they've been working hard to try and make a good plan to present both to you and to the whole city. We've not only done that, however, more importantly, there's already been 2 meetings with the neighbors to review the plans with them. Obviously, we think that we have a great plan. We know that it's somewhat tricky because it's on the border of a residential neighborhood, but as I try to point out to people, more than 50 years ago, that site on Chelmsford Street, where the towers are now, was designated by the city as an industrial zone in an effort to bring jobs and business to the city. And it took a while to do, but I think we've all seen what's developed as a result of it, and we've seen a marvelous situation with the towers, with the restaurants and the theaters behind it, and now we want to bring a first-class retail operation right adjacent to it across the way. Basically, not only, however, and it's interesting when we sit here and I hear all of the discussion regarding the residential and some of the pain that maybe I shouldn't use that word, but comes upon a neighborhood in a situation like that. This is an outfit that wants to bring 130 to 150 full-time jobs to the city, 30 to 50 part-time jobs, and a real first-class operation. So Brian and I will be glad to answer any particular questions that you have, but I thought it would be important if we gave Ken the opportunity to just give you a feel for the situation. Let you know, by the way, I think one other thing that I should make very clear, because it's a critical thing to you, and we know it is to us, and we know it is to the neighbors. When we talked to the folks at Division in Planning and Development, they asked us to make a very wide sketch and study of the traffic situation, not just at Chelmsford and Stevens, which is obviously the closest one in proximity there, but they asked us to go all the way down to Plain Street, all the way up to Parker Street, all the way over to Route 3, and work on how all of those particular areas might impact, or how we might be able to fix the traffic or help the traffic situation with that, and that's what we're still working on now. In addition to that, my clients have been working with the folks at the tower and with the folks in the 99 adjacent to where we're going to be about getting some traffic improvements that will allow for additional lanes and traffic lighting like at Stevens and Chelmsford Street that will help to let one lane go through straight all the time while two lanes turn left and right. And we think that's going to be a big improvement. We hope to put some traffic lights at Wellman that will help to handle that traffic, and also down at Composite. The other point I should make, and I'm sure Ken will get into that, is we think that most of the traffic for this particular project will come off of the Lowell connector, and the main entryway to the property and to the site will be off Composite Way, which is the street that is on the back side, which is parallel to Chelmsford Street. Ken will point that out for you. So we don't think we're going to have that many people who are going to be on the city streets, but we're working on that as well. And we think that we're putting together a plan that's going to be top-notch for the city. So if I may, I'd like your permission to turn it over to Ken and let him give you a little outline, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please, Ken. I think if you push up, there should be a green light if it's working. It goes up. Test it and see if it works. Then. No? If not, maybe you can... Jim will try to help you. If not, you can hold the mic. Okay, you got it. There you go. Thank you.
As George said, my name is Ken Staffier, and I'm a civil engineer with Manassas and Brooklyn out of Watertown, Mass. And we're working with National Development on the 790 Chelmsford site to bring a Lowe's Home Improvement Center to the site. Just want to kind of give you a quick overview, given the late hour and the temperatures in here. Essentially, the site's located at 790. I think the most prominent landmark in the area is the Cross Point Towers, located adjacent to the Lowell connector, and basically situated between Chelmsford Street and the Lowell connector. The existing Fred C. Church office building is located on site. So that gives you a little bit of perspective as to the general location. Looking at the site itself, this is an existing manufacturing, LTC manufacturing facility on site. It's going to be relocated within the city, but this is approximately 160,000 square foot building. It parallels Chelmsford Street, and there's parking to the rear, parking along Wellman Street. The main access points to the site are off of Wellman Street. There's access off of Chelmsford, access to the rear parking off of Chelmsford as well, and also another access point off of Composite Way. So that's just generally the existing site. Like I said, we're looking to bring a Lowe's Home Improvement Center to the site. Approximately 155,000 square foot store. And here's the preliminary site plan that we had prepared for some of the neighborhood meetings. The building itself is oriented perpendicular to Chelmsford Street, where we tried to narrow the profile of the views from the neighboring residential neighborhood. The main parking field will be located across the front, adjacent to Wellman Street. Access, basically from the north of the site, is via Wellman Street. There will be no public access from Chelmsford Street into the main parking field. As George said, we are looking to try to really maximize Composite Way as the main entrance to the site. Feel that a majority of the traffic is going to come off of the connector and access the site via industrial down through Composite. So we're looking to signalize the intersection, the existing intersection, to help draw traffic into the site. I think we'd received some preliminary comments from the board, or sorry, the planning staff, and some of the things that we're looking to address is providing adequate landscaping throughout the parking field. So we've updated plans, sorry I don't have them with me tonight, but that accommodate the minimum landscaping required. Actually, I think we're a little bit above that. The other piece is providing as much possible screening along Chelmsford Street as we can for the residential neighborhood across the way. So we have a couple different options that we're looking at. We actually have a meeting with the planning staff tomorrow that hope to discuss those. But what we've shown here is basically a plan that meets the zoning, but I think there's some opportunities to do something a little bit different across the front that helps connect this site to the neighborhood rather than just separating it from the neighborhood. So those are some of the things that we'll be working towards as we move forward with the project. So I guess given that, I'll leave it open for questions and look forward to answering anything I can.
Thank you.
Talking about some substantial taxes for the city as well, and Lord knows we could use both of those in the community, and stop paying gas and to travel up to New Hampshire to do our shopping. I hope there aren't too many. I don't care if there are too many New Hampshire people looking on now anyway. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Brian Clancy from National Development is here as well. We hope you like at least our preliminary plans. You notice there really isn't a Chelmsford Street facade to this. This isn't 4 or 5 cuts from Chelmsford Street and go into this store that is overwhelming people. We really would much prefer to keep this as a composite way kind of thing, and people are going to know we're there because we're going to make it clear that we're there, and we expect, as I said, most of them will be coming off the connector in Route 3, and we hope to bring a lot of people to Lowell now instead of having Lowellians to leave town to go shop elsewhere. But I'll be glad, Mr. Chairman, to ask any, and we'll take any suggestions you might have as well as to how we might improve our preliminary plan. We hope to be back to see you pretty soon, though. We're meeting, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned that, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, excuse me, with the neighbors again, just to update them. And we're still waiting for our final traffic reports and recommendations.
Jim mentioned to us before the meeting started tomorrow that you guys have a meeting at 10, I think it's 10 o'clock with
Yes.
a bunch of the department heads as well as them and the city engineer and his traffic, and Jim was just giving us his little information that, before the meeting started tonight, because most of us show up a little earlier to see if we have any extras packet to read up, but he was mentioning that, so we are aware that you are working with the city. I know most of us are aware that you've been in town at least twice, that we've read from the local paper, so we know that you have been working with that site up there. I know people have asked me, and I said, we haven't seen it as of yet, but we know it's forthcoming, so. But
Right.
I think you will get people from the neighborhood anyways. I mean, it's only common people that then need certain appliances, that the residents will use the store. I mean, but I think you tried to do a good way of making majority of it from the highway come behind Composite Way. But I think, you know, the neighborhood people, they need a product. I think they're gonna go to the closest site, which is right there, and I mean, that's the way the other big store in Tewksbury works in Home Depot. People, you know, they're close by. They'll go there compared to plumbing or hardware store, because I think a lot of it has to do with the hours that are open. People can go there easier than they can to an appliance center or to a plumbing store, or electrical, depending on what they need. But I'll turn it over to the board members at this time. But I think you did a good job of trying to downgrade it from being big, highly commercial on Chelmsford Street.
The other thing I should mention is that the site is actually below Chelmsford Street, so that helps to even mask it a little bit more as we finish it up. And on Chelmsford Street itself will be all landscaping. So it really, I think, is going to be very nicely...
Do you have much slope on that, out of curiosity? Now you say it's low, does it run to the back, or what's your slope there?
Ken will explain, there's going to be a retaining wall there, so...
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the site itself is relatively flat.
Okay.
But when working with the elevation of Chelmsford Street actually sits up a little bit from the site. So what we'll be looking to do is keep the elevation relatively close to what the existing building is out there today. And as a result, with the parking adjacent to Chelmsford Street, we'll need to have a little bit of a retaining wall guardrail up against Chelmsford Street. And it'll help, I mean, the site will actually feel depressed, so it'll help, you know, scale down the building and the site itself.
So you don't see any problem with drainage or anything else, because it's basically...
No, I met with the city engineer, and we're going to meet again tomorrow and discuss, but we took a look at some of the existing site discharges to the existing sewer system today. So we're looking to separate that out and direct it away from the street and out toward the connector. So we're working on some of those issues there.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from any of the board members?
I have a question. You mentioned LTC Electronics. There's a lot of building space up there. Are there any other active businesses that are being displaced because of this?
Just the electronic, is it an electronic plant, I think?
LTC Electronics.
Yeah.
Is that the only one?
It's a 10,000 square foot electronics building. We're trying to actually move them to another site close by, or certainly a site in the city of Lowell. Brian? Yeah, just the HVAC company has only a short time left, and I think was planning on leaving anyways.
Okay, so it's mostly vacant then, the space up there. Okay, that's all I have.
First of all, I want to applaud Lowe's for even considering coming to Lowell. I think it's a great project for the city. The city obviously needs jobs and needs the revenue from the taxes that this is going to produce. And I do like the fact that you do not enter on Chelmsford Street. I'm a Highlands kid, so I know that neighborhood very well, and I think it's great that you're going to actually enter on Industrial Avenue. And I'm waiting to see the regular plans.
Joe, any questions, concerns?
I think the project would be a fantastic one. I'm very excited to hear that, you know, they're considering coming to Lowell, and you've certainly done all the right things and meeting with the right people to push this thing forward. When you meet with the neighbors, is it primarily the businesses that are affected, or the residential neighbors, or both, or?
Well, the folks whom we spoke with were mostly on the Chelmsford, well, there were other than Chelmsford Street, but obviously those people directly related. But there's some of the, besides traffic, we spoke with them about noise and lighting, and we're dealing with those too. But I'm not sure, is that?
Mostly residential.
But it is
I'm just wondering
residential.
the form of the meetings, you somehow advertise them, come out to a meeting.
Oh,
we're gonna
yeah,
be discussing the
we've been
project.
dealing with the association, the Highland Neighborhood Association, so they get the word out to everybody.
Right. Well, I have no other questions or comments. We'll look forward to having you come back with your final plans.
Would you say you had 2 meetings with neighbors already? Or no?
Correct,
Okay.
with a third one coming up.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
doing our best, Mr. Chairman, to meet
Sure.
or modify our plans as realistically as we can
I
to
understand,
meet
and
their
and I
concerns.
applaud you for doing that in advance. I think it helps us as well as yourself. I mean, you know what the issues are going to be, which ones you can iron out, and which ones you can agree upon, which ones you can't. And then, obviously, with staff at DPD and the city engineer and the people here in the city are always willing to give comments one way or another. And a lot of times they're favorable, sometimes they're not, but a lot of times it's something that another set of eyes just look at it and may sometimes help your project, you know? Sometimes, so a little more comments can always tweak things to help make a better development for the city for all people.
Absolutely. I was going to say that again. I can't thank them enough. The Division of Planning and Development's been very, very, very helpful to us.
I think the major thing you'll have will people be a little concerned about the traffic. I think that's one thing you're addressing, and I think that would be, you know, any new neighborhood area is always going to have that issue. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind, and how you deal with that, and I think you're trying to deal with that. And, we applaud you for coming in, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the...
We're working hard on
Are you going to come in on a preliminary plan, or you think you, next time in, you think?
I'm sorry.
Are you going to come in on a preliminary or definitive when you come back? Or you don't know yet?
Just the definitive.
Mr. Chairman, if I may make a quick note, just for the board to know, we at the DPD are trying to take this as thoroughly as possible, just to make sure that we make the best project as possible, which is why we're meeting with the applicant so frequently. So tomorrow is a big meeting just to discuss a lot of what was included, not only in the memo to you tonight, but also any other possible questions or concerns, or, you know, take into account everything that has been said from the neighbor's perspective, from the board's perspective, from the city's perspective. So hopefully we can we can take this steadily, because this is a large project that the city hasn't really seen in a while. So we'd like to make sure and ensure that this is the best project that it can be, not only for the developer, but also for the city and for the neighborhood.
We've had some big projects up there.
We think so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I can remember sitting, well, not here, but across the way for the other projects. I remember being here for Cross Point, I remember being here for Wayne, yep.
Yep. Long time, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman.
Yep. 22 years. Good luck, we'll see you, hopefully coming in the future. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next matter we'll have on will be the West 3rd Street. This is a pre-application plan. Project address is 12, 21, 31, and 31.1 West 3rd Street. Applicant, the East End Social Club and West 3rd Construction LLC. Project, construct 15 townhouse residential unit. Zoning is a UMU, which is urban neighborhood mixed use. The required review is site plan and special permit. Will you have the applicant, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. James Flood, 81 Bridge Street. On behalf of the petitioner. Recall we were before you people before on this plan, and there was a a lot of concern about Forest View Avenue and how we were coming out and exiting onto it. We have redesigned the plan, which we're here with tonight, and Matt will explain it. We have not met with the Centerville Association yet. I did try to reach Anne Marie Page on a few occasions, but evidently she was in Ireland for her daughter's graduation. And I did speak to her this week, and I told her that we were coming in preliminarily again tonight, but we will not go in front of the board until we have a meeting with them. And I think she was going to try to set up a special meeting to sit down with them to go over it. So she was aware we were coming in tonight, and I think there's a representative here tonight anyways. So what we have done is we've taken away one unit. We've reduced it from 16 down to 15, and we've changed the traffic pattern so it would just flow through the site and exit back out onto West 3rd Street. I'll have Matt explain it to you. I've reviewed the comments. I think some of these, they're similar to what we had before, and I think we discussed some of them. But we would like to get a feeling from this board as to this new traffic pattern and plan so that we can prepare a final plan for submission. You want to explain it, Matt? I don't think it was working earlier. Does the red light go on or something?
Based off of those comments. And what we've incorporated is more specifically the removal of one end unit here, which was requested of the board members. It was a recommendation, I believe. And it was also a recommendation as well from the planning department. What we did is we removed an entrance or an exit onto Forest View Avenue and created a new exit back onto West 3rd Street. What we've also provided in this revised plan is some more architectural detail, more specifically on the streetscape to West 3rd Street, as well as the rear of these buildings will have similar revisions to the architectural nature, but there'll also be some additional projections off of the front of these rear buildings. If you look on the rendering that we've shown, which I also handed out, you can see some significant architectural additions to these buildings with this projection here, and as well as a true perspective into the site if you were standing in this area right here. So when you look at this rendering, you can start to see into the site, seeing these rear buildings here, as well as the streetscape. I can take any questions that the board may have.
Thank you. Anybody else here like to speak in opposition? In favor? Either way, it's a comment period, so we'll take them either way to come on. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'd like to speak in opposition.
Sure. Since it's not a public hearing, we'll take it either way.
Leaving your plan up there.
You can...
May I approach
Sure.
and explain
Just
forward?
state your name and for the record, and then you can approach the plan if you like, okay? You can use his microphone that he was using right there, sir, okay?
Our neighborhood view is on very limited funds, so there's only
No problem.
2 photos you can pass around here.
That's okay. That's quite all right. Yeah.
Well, that's a picture of the street that we're talking about.
Mhm. I know we're familiar with the site, that's for sure. I think we've all been up there one way or another. Yep. Wherever you feel If you can use that microphone, if you want to use that one, if you want to point to the drawings, whatever's easier for you, sir. Just state your name again.
Okay,
please,
how
for
we
the record.
doing? Well,
Just state
I
your name
have-
for the record, please.
My name is Conrad Gothier.
Thank you.
And the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group, we're having our meeting tonight, and so we're not here in force. But the group asked me to come and speak about our opposition to this plan. And there are a lot of reasons for it. But to start off with, the East End Club has always been very good to all the neighborhood groups, and they've been very good to us. We've had our meetings there for years, like other neighborhood groups. But even so, we have to come down and speak in opposition to this because we feel that it's way too much for that particular neighborhood. The neighborhood is all single-family homes and duplex homes. And as Mr. Claremont had stated a little bit earlier on one of the other plans, that, you know, this type of building is totally out of character for the rest of the street. And if you take a look at the plan that we have there, and it shows the single-family houses, and it shows this row of trees is going to be missing. It's the biggest asset on that street. And now West 3rd Street, as we know, is a very small street. It's got low-income people living there, rental people living there. It doesn't have a lot to offer. But what it does have to offer right now is these 9 or 10 trees. They're probably the nicest looking trees in the whole city if you put them all together, and they happen to be on West 3rd Street. And the reason that they're there is because when the East End Club decided that they wanted to put a parking lot, they had to put those trees in for a buffer to separate the parking lot from the neighborhood and the streets. And I noticed in this plan here, these people don't have any buffer between the back of this project here and the parking lot, but yet the East End Club did have to put a buffer in when they did their parking lot originally. And there are, with this group here, the houses are so close to the street that these trees are going to have to be removed. And it's been our experience, although we try very, very hardly to put trees into the neighborhood, it's been our experience that sidewalk trees aren't taken care of by people that live right across from them. There are trees, if we put trees in front of people's houses, even though they don't pay for them, which our neighborhood group does, they take care of them because they figure that they're something that belongs to them. But a sidewalk tree has to be taken care of by the city, and it has a very high rate of not being able to, grow up and to be a nice looking tree for the neighborhood. These are like, we call it like a row house, for instance. If you had these row houses in Boston, they'd have trees in front of them. They'd have nice-sized gardens in front of them. We think that there should only be 9 or 10 units for this size lot. We think that there should be yard space for children to play. We think that the houses should not be directly on the streets like most of the other houses on the street are set back 5 or 6 feet, 8 or 10 feet if you went down the street. As I said, we'd like to see 9 or 10 units here. The narrowness of Forest Street. I'm not trying to be funny when I tell you we're going to have to change the name of Forest Street if these trees come down, because there's not going to be any forest there left to deal with. It is a point that I'd like to make. These trees are important to us, and they're important to the neighborhood. Single-family homes and duplexes, like I say, that's the character of the neighborhood. And I guess I've covered just about everything. I'm not a professional speaker. And I would mention some of the things like that when we look at Hildreth Street, the board at the time with Hildreth Street, we started having all the problems, and the neighborhood groups were in opposition to the housing that went on Hildreth Street. The zoning has been changed since then so that the board has an opportunity to act on what they think is best for the neighborhood. And because of that, we think what's best for the neighborhood is, just eight or 9 units. And we don't want to hurt the people on the East End Club, but we also feel that we owe the neighborhood the responsibility of doing what's right for the neighborhood, and that's why I'm here. And if anybody has any questions, I'd like to answer them.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Okay.
it. Thanks
Thank
for coming
you.
down. Mr. Flood, anything you have
No,
further to say?
well, I heard what he said, but, I mean, this proposed development
Yeah, thank you.
more than satisfies the requirement of zoning. Required 1,000 square foot per dwelling unit. We get over 1,500 square feet per dwelling unit. We've got 332 feet usable open space per dwelling unit, so there's a lot there. The location of the buildings is based on your streetscape scheme. There's no setback, it's not required in that zone, and I think that's what the city wants. So this was designed based on streetscapes in the city. It's housing in accordance with the master plan, and I mean, to just arbitrarily say 9 or 10 units, I don't think, that was the intent of the zoning. So we're willing to work with them. Like I said, we haven't had a meeting, but this is the concept that we thought that the city wanted, the design similar to that with a streetscape down West 3rd Street. Now, if that's not what the city wants, let us know. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to say? Anybody else in the audience want to speak for or against? Any comments? No? Having none, I'll turn over to the board members. Any of the board members have any questions or concerns? Sure, go ahead, Rich.
I have to agree with Mr. Goff here on a number of those points. I don't think you're really adding to the character of the neighborhood here at all. It's going to have a big effect, a big impact on the neighborhood in a negative way. I said this before, when you were here before, that if you could break those units up a little bit and just kind of work that site a little bit better, maybe a few less units would be best. And I'm sure you would dress that up with appropriate landscaping to replace the trees that are there. What I really find objectionable here is the usable open space. You did mention that you got like 320 square feet per unit, but it's really not usable.
But there's no requirement in zoning for
I
it.
know there's no requirement in that zone, but in that neighborhood, there's a big need for that type of thing. So I think what would be appropriate is to create some of that space. That's all I have.
That's what we tried to do.
Well, there's nothing there.
In order, the city doesn't want parking in the front. They want us to enter the parking in the rear so you can't see the garages. So in order to break them up, it's very difficult to do. This is one way so you can hide the parking space. So, I mean, we're trying to be consistent with what the city wants in these types of development.
I understand that. I'd like to see a version of something, rather than just that row house type stuff. I think you could come up with something if you really gave it a try, that's all.
Thank you, Rich. Mary, any questions, concerns, or comments?
My only comment this period is it's better. It's a better plan than what you originally brought in.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah, the traffic.
I still am concerned about the parking for the East End Club. I'm still not convinced that they will have the number required by their license, so I would like to see that brought in at the next meeting.
We will show you that. We do have enough parking.
Okay.
We have an additional 86 spaces.
Okay, is it on-site or off-site?
On-site.
On-site?
Yep.
Okay, because that is a big concern for me. I want to make sure that the neighborhood doesn't have any extra traffic. And I understand the concern of the neighborhood group about the height. These are all single-family homes or duplexes. Can I just ask a question to Jim Erickson?
Sure.
Whose idea is it to create all these streetscapes without taking into effect what the neighborhood is?
Jim can answer that if you want. If you don't want to, Jim, you can have it.
I know.
Well, I'll make a more general comment. If you refer to the memo that I presented to the applicant a while ago, and also the one that I put together for tonight. There were some questions and concerns about this project, and there are also some comments regarding alternative layouts that, as a department, we think may address some of the concerns that the board is asking, as well as the neighborhood group, and would take into account keeping possible street trees, would limit the number of units for the site, would take into account the architectural details of the neighborhood. We can provide comment on this streetscape. I don't want to provide comment right now off the fly. There are a number of things that could be improved by this plan, obviously. But again, I think some of the ideas behind the urban streetscape, one of the suggestions that we had as a department was to provide a landscaping strip in front of the houses, push the houses back a little bit, the row houses back a little bit, provide some sort of front streetscape that could include the trees that are already on the site itself. Maybe working with the site layout so it's not just a row house, breaking that style into 4 or 5 different housing blocks. It's in the memo that I provided for you tonight. So the site that you see right there is something that the department is willing to work on with the applicant and with the neighborhood group and provide a better landscape and better layout of the site itself. That's what I have to say.
I'm only asking the question is because the developers come to us with these projects, which most likely will dress up the neighborhood, but a lot of times they're a whole level over what is already there. So I'm just questioning, how can we fix this so they're not always, they just look like foreign objects in the neighborhoods that are coming before us. This looks like a whole level over what is already on the street.
Level being height-wise?
Height-wise. So it's just something I think we should think about down the road. I'm not sure we can do it for this project, but something I think the DPD should think about.
We can definitely take that into consideration, especially we can still take it into consideration for this project. It hasn't been applied for yet. And I'd like to remind the board that this is a special permit and site plan approval process, meaning, as I noted in the memo tonight, that the board has the rights to, among other things, take into account number of units, landscaping, other details on the site itself. And if you have concerns about such things, address them tonight, bring them out into the open, please.
Well, I just see on this plan, the trees that has already been discussed tonight, they're not even here. But that doesn't mean they can't be there when the plan can't come in.
But I think in the zoning, there's no setback requirement in the zone. And I think it was, when this master plan was approved, I think that's what they wanted to be, how this area to be developed. That's my understanding, maybe I'm wrong.
That's right.
So that's how it was designed. Now, maybe there's a way to push them back to make a landscaping strip in there. Can that be done, Matt?
With the aisle requirements as well as the parking requirements, it's difficult because remember that these units are only 26 feet deep.
Right.
And the way that we have this rectangular shaped lot is more conducive to this type of layout. There are other alternatives that you could lay out buildings on this site, which we did explore, but what you actually end up running into is movement problems with vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
You also have snow storage problems, fire department apparatus problems with turning radius and things of that nature. So you might be able to push these back a little. We've added some small green strips in front of each one of the units. So it's possible, but we would, because this is a one-way.
Right.
We have a 20-foot aisle here, a 22-foot aisle, and this aisle could reasonably be reduced down to even 16 or 18 feet realistically, because this is one-way traffic. But this is the requirement in the lane requirement for parking. If we were able to reduce this aisle, we could pull these buildings back. If the board was favorable towards a variance to that requirement.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just make a couple more quick comments from the Division of Planning and Development. While there is no maximum or minimum front yard setback in this district, there is an understanding that is consistent with the rest of the neighborhood, including the houses across the street, and also just ensuring that the project itself is consistent with the neighborhood, which if there's street trees in the neighborhood, there could be street trees incorporated into this project itself. I'd also like to note that this plan in front of you tonight does have 15 units. One of the comments from the neighborhood group was that bringing the number of units down to 9 or around that number, or even the fewer units, could enhance this site and possibly provide for the extra space that is needed. Further, the Division of Planning and Development has put together a plan that does have 15 units, not to say that that's the best number, but it does also incorporate some of the design issues or some of the site design issues that we have been talking about. And with that said, there are possibilities for other designs for this site that could take into account some of what we're discussing here tonight.
I'd also like to add that we will be retaining the services of a landscape architect to provide landscaped areas along in front of each unit, as well as along the street on Forest View Avenue, where we have a space here, as well as what I would consider a true usable open space also, which is going to be a confined recreational area here, as well as we also have an area here that could be utilized as well.
How big is that area, man?
This area is about 400 to 500 square feet. This one's a little bit smaller, about the same size, but this area here is going to be utilized for snow storage as well.
James, did you say staff had designed a plan with 15 units on this site?
There was a plan designed and was provided to Mr. Hammer with a different layout. It had different blocks of units on the site, in blocks of 3 or 4 units, had a central courtyard area of usable open space. It did have 15 units, and we weren't totally pleased with that project itself. We'd still like to work with the applicant and the engineer on that plan. We can provide a copy of that plan in the future, but if possible, we could work with the applicant on tweaking that plan or incorporating that plan into this plan.
Well, I think kind of the benefit of this plan is for the fire apparatus, because this way they can come in and they can go out.
Well, that plan also had a very similar layout where it had the horseshoe-shaped layout. Both entrance and exits were onto West 3rd Street, and that plan also had the exit onto West 3rd Street further away from the intersection with Forest View Lane. There was actually a series of units on Forest View Lane at the corner of Forest View and West 3rd Street. Another urban design detail that was mentioned in the memo that was sent to both the applicant and the planning board tonight, that as a department we would like to see incorporated into the site itself. Another aspect of that plan was a more of a centralized courtyard area that, although this one does provide usable open space on the right-hand side of the site, it is very visible from the street, a very urban street, a very urban neighborhood. That provided an internal courtyard area of usable open space, thereby shielding it from the rest of the neighborhood, making it more of a private space, a safe space for the possible children that could be living in this neighborhood. Again, we can discuss these details at a later point, or we can, it is all noted in this memo that I did
I saw
mention.
that tonight. I just saw this for the first time tonight.
That memo was also, many of the similar comments were provided to the engineer back in April of 2006, actually. Yes, prior to the May 1st pre-application session.
Yeah.
It was presented it's pretty much the same comments. You may have seen that previous memo. It's a very similar memo because to be honest with you, it's a very similar project.
I said that. It was very similar to the first one. But I thought there was some discussion also to make Forest View Avenue one way. Was there a discussion with the city on
There was
doing that?
discussions with that. Again, that would be a larger aspect of the development site. If this were to be something that we could pursue, making it a one-way would require obviously a lot of the opinions of the neighborhood, including everybody that lives along Forest View Avenue. If this were to happen, we'd obviously have to have our traffic engineer look at this to see if this is even a safe place to provide. I know Forest View Avenue is a very small street.
Yeah,
However, a very small street is also a street that needs to have a lot of attention to it when you have another exiting when you have an exit of a larger development project such as this one onto that street, 10 feet away from the edge of Forest View Avenue. landscaping will also be a major issue with this site itself.
Joe, any questions?
No questions, but just general comments. You know, we obviously have competing interests here. The East End Club has been a good citizen of the city of Lowell and certainly would like to assist them and have them be able to do the best project possible. We also have the neighborhood group and the neighbors that will show up when the public hearing is heard on this matter, and I'm sure, you know, they'll be looking at this site and think that it's overbuilt. We've got a zone here that only requires 1,000 square feet per dwelling unit. That's minimal. That's minimal in the city of Lowell. I think we should consider the fact that sometimes less is more. If we could eliminate a couple of units, perhaps out of the centers of these buildings, offset them a bit, maybe reduce the drive lane a bit so that we can move those front buildings back and maintain a landscaping strip, or those perhaps the trees that are in the front, I think you can get a nice-looking project, maybe something that will be set apart from the other condos that are being built, and something that may be just as marketable and do just as well for them. So from my perspective, I think that's what I'd like to see, the elimination of probably a couple of units, offset these a bit so you don't have the huge building that's totally out of character with the neighborhood that's up there. I'm sure, you know, the neighbors will have their own opinions, but those would be my thoughts.
Thank you. A couple of comments I have is, I'm glad to see that you're no longer going out of Forest Way, I think it's Ave. I know before my comments where that street was tight. I mean, it was a two-way street, snow removal, file apparatus, so I'm glad to see that you came in off there. I think one of my other comments were, I think basically most of the board members said we thought we could lose some of the units, it was a little too tight. I see you've lost one. I'd like to see you come down a little lower. One of my other comments is that your rear yard setback in the far left, I know it's awful close to that guy's backyard, way back there. On your plan, it says rear yard setback, 15 feet for required. And then it says proposed NA on your scale to your right. So how come can you explain that to me? Why is the rear yard NA?
It's actually a side yard to Forest View.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, I got you, okay. So that's gonna be the guy's side yard instead of rear yard?
Right.
Yeah.
We are going to be talking to this gentleman.
Because, I mean, I looked at the plan, what's it, 5 feet off the line? You know, that was my concern last time. I know he's awful close. I remember when I drove down there, it was tight. And I don't know if you can work something out on that one, and I know that's a tight unit. So obviously, if you were considering maybe losing one, that could be one to start, I don't know, but it just, where it jets back to that guy's property, I think it's pretty tight. But my basic concerns are, I'm glad to see how you did the traffic flow, glad to see you're not on that side street anymore, but I do think there's too many units on the project. Those are my concerns. Anybody else?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, the board is out, or the planning department is welcome to meet with the applicant further on this project. We're always available for any type of meeting in the future.
But I think even your
And with the
comments tonight, I
neighborhood
think
group as well.
DPD said that they thought with this plan, basically, it could be a lot better for the neighborhood if it was less. Okay. Yes, sir. Sure. This is informal here when we come in on pre-application. Okay.
Until you people grant them any other kind of changes to be made, I want to be sure, absolutely sure that no overzealous contractor comes in and removes those trees from the site. I know legally they're not supposed to do it. They're not supposed to act on anything. But I'm mentioning it at this meeting tonight because I want to protect my trees.
Okay.
And I want everybody here to hear this.
I don't know how the planning board can stop them from doing that, but that's...
Thank you very much.
Well, we're not going to do anything till we meet with them anyways,
I
I
didn't
think. But I think I heard you tonight, and...
Thank you.
And you're a little more than I thought, though. I had a different figure in mind. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Let's see. Next matter, we have another pre-application, which is, let's see. This one is 963 Chelmsford Street. Application Peter Doyle, project, commercial retail building. Zoning is RR, which is regional retail, and the required review is site plan. Can we have the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, George Cielides Jr., 133 Market Street, Lowell. I'm here this evening with Peter Doyle on my left. The Doyle family, Lowell Provision Company. Peter was refreshing my memory. I didn't go quite this far back, but they've been in the city in the provision business for 93 years. So I don't think any of us were buying then, but in any event, more good news as far as I'm concerned. More jobs and more tax revenue. Matt is passing out to you our proposal for Chelmsford Street, and just to give you an idea where we're talking about, it's the last building on the right before the ramp that goes north to to Route 3. There currently is the music mall, kind of like a house sitting there,
Across from the
empty.
gas station there and the car wash?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We allowed that car wash not too long ago, right off the highway there, yep, I recall.
So,
Located, yep.
what the Doyle family is proposing to do is they've purchased this property, and we would like to put a Lowell provision type market that we think will be better than any of the other markets in the area. And we think this is a dynamite location because it's right off of Route 3. I've already got the advertising lined up so that Peter can tell them they just get off one exit at Route 3 and then they're back on, they can go to New Hampshire. And that way we'll get the New Hampshire shoppers. Anyway, I'm not going to belabor the thing. I'm going to turn it over to Matt and let him give you an idea of what we hope to do here. And I think it's a great project.
Okay. Thank you, Council. Go ahead, Matt, please.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Matt Hammer with Polaris Engineering, here representing Peter Doyle for a piece of property located off of Chelmsford Street, which is 963 Chelmsford Street. And the locus here is a little bit difficult to see, but the actual on-ramp to Route 3 is located right here. And Route 3 is located right here. When you're actually on Route 3, if you look down, you can look down on the site. Right now, there's a building there called the Music Man. It's a blue building. So just to get you all familiar as to what piece of property we're actually talking about here. But what we're proposing is a 4,000 square foot specialty store for meats, breads, oil and vinegars, anything that's specialized type food on the main level here of this building. And then on the second level, we're proposing two 2,000 square foot office spaces, excuse me. Coming off of Chelmsford Street, you would come into this entrance here, and what we're going to be doing is have some signage which will actually prompt delivery vehicles for the building itself to utilize this one-way access to the property to the right. The main entrance will come through here. There's parking here and in the front of the building, as well as a significant amount of overflow parking. The parking requirement for the proposed uses are 18 spaces, and we're proposing 51 spaces. We anticipate more traffic during holidays and things of that nature for the specialty store itself. We have a wetland area here shown in light green, of which our parking in all of our paved areas in gray here. So we actually are going to be proposing this project close to the wetlands, but we are confident that we won't be adversely affecting the wetlands, thus permittable through the notice of intent process with DEP. And that's basically what we have here. We're going to have a nicely landscaped property. This building's going to look beautiful. There's a lot of thought that's been put into the layout of this building. We've drawn up multiple different concept plans and feel that this plan is one that'll work for professional businesses as well as the specialty store.
Will you have to go to conservation for those wetlands, or are you far enough away?
We're going to be filing a notice of intent at the same time that we file with the planning board.
Looks like you have plenty of parking. How much will that be for the businesses upstairs, I mean, the rental business upstairs, would you? Like you probably designate some for them and then keep most of it for down below, I imagine?
Well, we haven't determined that yet.
It looks like you have plenty of parking on site anyways, regardless, right?
Yeah. These areas in here will be mainly for the office buildings.
Okay.
Office spaces up above and for
And
the
you
employee
decide how many
parking.
you divide up for each use? You divide up what would be for each use, would be for the second floor and the first floor for the parking requirement?
Yeah,
We're going to try to assign the back section for the office people, yes.
That way the people who come to the store can pull up close, walk in and walk out.
Yeah.
The daily foot traffic, basically, in and out.
Right.
Okay.
And this layout also affords the building to be centrally located so that there's a significant amount of parking in and around the building.
Is any of you sited all in Chelmsford, or is it all in the Lowell? Did any of them go over the line? All in Lowell?
All Lowell.
It's all Lowell,
I
yeah.
know you're close there, so I wasn't sure if part of it to the end there. So it looks like you have plenty for snow storage and everything else for the parking, and you have the egress there, no problem. Is the site plan pretty flat?
Yeah, it is very flat.
There are any drainage issues?
There will be some drainage obstacles that we will have to overcome.
Right.
We're anticipating actually filling the site with a
Okay.
significant amount of fill here to bring the site up. And the main reason for that is so that we can have a loading bay that actually goes into a basement underneath this building. And the basement floor elevation has been set to be approximately 2, maybe even a little bit more, 2 to 2.5 feet above the elevation of the wetlands. So we want to make sure that the site isn't taking in any groundwater from the, the wetness that we know is here.
Mhm.
So, but there'll be a significant amount of fill being brought into the site. But once we bring in that fill, we'll have areas to provide drainage, which will probably be done actually underneath the parking areas itself.
Then obviously you'll have a dumpster there to be picked up, no problem, right? Dumpster
Yeah.
on site for you?
Yep, we've
Yeah.
proposed a dumpster here.
You have plenty of room there, yeah, okay. So that'll be for the upstairs as well as the low provision area, yep.
That's correct.
You should have enough there. Just screen that in like required, no problem with that, Counselor, right? To screen the dumpster, no problem?
Yep, and we also have an area here,
Closest, yep.
if we need one.
Yeah. You probably need a lot of large refrigeration room or freezer room, I take it, for all that products? Yeah. What do you do, put that on the first floor down below or underneath? That's where the trucks pull right up and go right into that area?
Or at least the ground level.
Yeah.
And it's just not, no sending it downstairs like well.
Yeah, a lot easier, right?
I've learned a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it makes it easier, right?
I'm very excited about the project.
Good.
I'm real excited about being on the other side of the wall.
Good.
And we're not doing anything with.
Oh, I understand. It's good to be diversified.
Right.
Yep, I understand. I have no further comments. Any of the board members have any
I
questions?
just have one question. You're trying to circulate your traffic around the building clockwise, is that what that strip is along the front? Or you just,
I am not actually.
okay, it kind of looks.
We're going to have signs here that just say delivery vehicles only to actually access the site this way. We're trying to
Go that way,
encourage
go that way?
the flow to go in and out through this area here.
Yeah, okay.
Even though this, vehicles can come into this area if they drive by and see that all the parking's full. I guess they could do.
That's all.
Mary, any questions?
My only comment is it's great to see Lowell Pro come back to Lowell, even though I know you're in Chelmsford, Palmont Plaza, I think. Coming back to Lowell.
Get 'em
It's
closer.
your old neighborhood. It's good to
Right.
see it.
Right.
Any questions, concerns?
The access into the site, the one curb cut off of Chelmsford Street, is that where the existing access is now?
That's correct. We're going to have to widen that access.
Right.
That curb cut.
We're working on that now, Mr. Claremont.
I
And
see you have one-way delivery access for your trucks to go and back in there, but on the plan, it's noted that it looks like that area is on on where a paper street is?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, I have no other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. We
See you in the
appreciate
future.
the opportunity.
You're welcome. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
See you when you come back. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving along, the next matter is 346 Western Ave, applicant Will Susi. Project construct of 4-bay industrial building. Zoning is the light industrial, and the required review will be a site plan. Anybody here for Western Ave?
I am,
Oh,
Chairman.
okay, all right. This is right off School Street, right?
No, yes, but off of Western Ave.
Yeah, down and off, yeah. I mean, Weston's right up there off
Yeah,
School
there's a
Street,
school
yeah.
street, they call it
Yeah.
the School Street Bridge.
Yeah,
that new
that's the
bridge.
School Street, that, okay. You down by the railroad tracks or something down that way? You down by railroad tracks almost? Right in the back, are they? I remember looking at the plan. Out front, okay, yep, I remember looking at it earlier.
Thank you.
I had the plan in the packet, but I remember looking at it.
Good evening. I'm here representing RLS LLC, which is actually also being done by Will Susi. The name of the project is RLS LLC, who's the applicant for this site. To get you familiar as to where we are, School Street's here. This is Western Ave. And there's a retaining wall all the way down this whole area here. And what I did is I provided a profile of the roadway in relationship to the building so you can get a clear understanding as to how this building is going to be situated on the property. Because it's a little bit difficult in a plan view type format, which is what these profiles represent. If you come down Western Ave, you would look down, and it's basically a flat site here, which is down anywhere between like 5 and 15 or 20 feet, which it gets to that far down below over in this area here. And right here is the Pawtucket Canal, right here. Right after it is a power plant. And then the site after it is the site where we came before you for the Susi Industries is proposing a steel manufacturing yard. What we're proposing is 4 industrial condominiums, which will be accessed from the rear of the building coming into this 20-foot access off of Western Ave, coming down in grade, probably around a 10 to a 12% grade, coming down into the site and then accessing the rear of each building. And that's what this profile shows here, is the existing retaining wall here, as well as the retaining wall here, and then it shows the entrance, and it shows you an elevation as to where you are in relationship to the actual retaining wall, which runs along Western Ave. So if you're on Western Ave, on this side, you're only going to see 5 or 6 feet above the building. And then as you're down at the furthest point down on the building, you'll see approximately 15 feet of the building. What we're proposing, and this is going to be something new, I think, for the planning board, is we're going to be having an elevated steel grate walkway that's going to be at the mezzanine level of the building. So there'll be, underneath there'll be a driving garage, like contractor bay type garages, and then there'll be mezzanine space above for, they'll have small office spaces above for each respective business. And Will Susi, who's very good with steel, has proposed this steel graded walkway that you'll be able to access from the roadway and then get into each mezzanine level on the second floor. And the best way for us to show you was to show it in a profile view. We'll also show a typical cross-section of the building. But what happens is the building is actually set back from the stone retaining wall by 5 feet. And then between the building and Western Ave will be this walkway, which will be handicap accessible to each mezzanine office space. And that's my presentation. Each condominium unit will be approximately 1,400 square feet with an additional 480 square foot mezzanine. And we've met with the planning department on this project, and they seem to be receptive to our proposal.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments in the audience? No? Jim, you have any comments on this, except for what's in the packet?
Pretty much what's in the packet. Just to note, this is going to require historic board approval for the site itself.
Historic board, okay.
Because it is in the Acre Neighborhood District. It's an industrial site, it's an industrial use. I'm not sure. The concerns of the board are probably similar to what the department may come up with, but that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, George. You have any comments? Now that you joined us tonight, I know you've been busy earlier this evening. Appreciate it. Well, if you have any input, just let us know. Just feel free to speak up at any point in time. Okay. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Any of the board members have any questions, concerns? Seems different, huh? I don't think we've seen much like this before.
I guess just one.
It is different. I'm trying to visualize it.
Yeah, just one thing.
You can access
that mezzanine level from Western Ave.
That's correct.
Do you anticipate being able to park on the street out there?
No,
So all the parking is going to be back here?
that's correct.
And yet you have there's a sidewalk along the whole front of this?
There is a sidewalk out front, yeah.
Okay.
There'll be signs
I would
up
just be concerned that somebody's going to park out there and walk into the...
on Western Avenue.
Yeah, yeah.
There probably will be, but it's not condoned.
Well, there is access to the mezzanine from Western Avenue, so I think...
Yeah, I mean, there isn't...
I'd just be concerned that you're going to have people park.
It's mainly to get the people out of the mezzanine level onto the sidewalk.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of foot traffic there to begin with. This is a very, this piece of land is, pretty run down.
Right.
So-
That's a unique site, and I think you have a unique proposal, so it'd be interesting.
Yeah, it is. Good use of the property.
Although the artist lofts are really picking up down the street, so
Yeah.
you never know.
Any other questions or concerns? No? Nope. Okay. Good luck with it. We'll see you at the
Thank you.
future date. Thank you. That completes our pre-application sessions. Now we're turning over to the old business. We have two matters under the old business this evening. One being administrative adjustment, 12 Ormsby Street. The owner of the property of 12 Ormsby Street, James Stiles, is seeking to make an adjustment to the project's original approval decision, which occurred on March 20th, 2002. The adjustment includes the removal of a 15-foot no-cut buffer zone located on the rear portion of the property at 12 Ormsby Street.
Mr. Chairman, before we begin, I'm familiar with the applicant, so I'm going to recuse myself from this vote.
Okay. Thank you. At this point in time, can we hear from the applicant, please?
Hi, my name's Paula Stiles. I live at 12 Ormsby Street. I would like to ask that the no-cut buffer zone be lifted from the rear of our property. We have a large hill in the back of the property that has a significant amount of water runoff that pools approximately 2 feet from the back of our house. We've had a lot of water problems since we moved in there. Pooling of the water around the house and also water leaking into the basement from the standing water in the backyard. What we'd like to do is cut out the hill and put in a retaining wall. I did discuss with the neighbor who lives behind us, which really would be the only person that it would impact. She agreed that that would not be a problem. I have a signed letter from her stating that that would be all right. We'd like to remove a few trees that are there. There's really just, one large tree and a few small trees, probably about 3 inches in diameter wide. So there's not a lot of trees to remove. So that is what I'm asking tonight.
Okay. Could you show us the letter if you don't mind? If you mind approaching, please, if you would, please. Could you come forward, please, and show us that if you would? Thank you. Sure. What the board members are reading the letter, do you have any comments on this? I know I read your stuff in the packet, but I don't know if you have anything verbally you want to discuss while we're reading the letter from the neighbors.
The only request that I made of the applicant was to provide something in writing saying that they met with the neighbors and that the neighbors were okay with this. It was a condition of the approval, and therefore that's why it's back in front of you for an administrative adjustment.
I looked over those conditions before. I know one of the questions, we didn't want a no-cut while the development was going on, but it didn't say if we needed a no-cut thereafter. And it looks like the house to the right is a no-cut zone also, right? Because it's on the plan.
Correct. It appears that it goes on the property along that, I guess, shared back property line across the two properties. If the board desires, I can look into why that was there further. I didn't see anything in my investigation of the decision letter itself or,
I read
why it was put on there.
How we voted on it previous. I think Mr. Broderick was involved in it, and I think, Joe, you might have been back then involved in it. Maybe either seconded or something, if I remember reading it when I went over the packet. I know there was several conditions on the project, about 9, I think, the approval was with 7 conditions, and that was one of the ones that have been adhered to. So the main concern now is because of that area, you're getting flooding in your house?
Yes.
Because of that no-cut zone? So, are there, besides the trees that you're gonna cut, will there still be other trees remaining there? Or is there many trees there? I mean, so you're gonna cut them all, or just some? That's my question.
There's actually 2 large trees. One tree wouldn't be affected at all, one of the larger trees. We're not sure when they dig what trees will have to be taken out because it will depend on where the roots lie. Okay. But as I mentioned, the trees, there's one large tree that I think would be affected, and the other trees are real small in diameter that the neighbors, she said there wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else here want to speak on this application? Anybody else want to speak on it? Hearing none, and seeing there's not many other people left here this evening. Any questions by the board members? I know maybe you weren't on this when this first happened. But,
No.
you have any questions, Rich?
No, I have no.
Do you remember this at all? Or
Yes, I do, very much. It's
Okay.
right
Do
near
you
where
have any
I live.
questions or concerns? My concern is obviously if the neighbor behind her is happy, I think that goes a long way with, and obviously if she's getting flooding, obviously anybody who's experienced flooding, especially the flood of 2006 in the city of Lowell, would like to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right.
I know it's a very painful situation dealing with flooding, believe me. I mean, a lot of people experienced it, and obviously if it happened before, chances are it's going to continue to happen. You know, and it does get frustrating trying to clean it up every time.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we grant the adjustment to the, as requested.
Motion is made. Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second that.
Motion is made and second, and the chair votes yes, and the vote carries 3-0 and 1 abstention. Good luck. Thanks for sitting
Yeah.
through a hot, long night.
Need to talk to your neighbor.
Probably need some water by now.
This one's screwed.
Well, good luck, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, have the letter for the official record.
Oh, absolutely.
I just want to make sure I have that on file.
Okay, moving along, we have another administrative adjustment, which is 11 E 19th Street. The owners of the property of 11 East 19th Street, Dan O'Connor and Gary Chevette, seek an adjustment to the original subdivision plan for this property and approval which occurred on June 11th, 2004. The adjustment includes the alteration of a turnaround easement presented on the approved subdivision plan for the project. Can we hear the applicant, please?
George Cielides, Jr., 133 Market Street, Lowell, and I represent Mr. O'Connell and Mr. Charette tonight. May I approach with a couple of plans for the board?
Absolutely, Councilor. We can share, we, yeah. We can definitely share.
Briefly, this project's been underway for quite some time. We were before the planning board, I don't know how long ago, with approval, et cetera. We then had some issues with the Conservation Commission with reference to where we, and in the midst of all of that, the zoning changed. So the issue became, we were caught between the devil and the deep blue sea on where we could put our parking and everything. So in order to happily accommodate the Conservation Commission, we moved it into what is the green area there. The building commissioner was concerned with the fact that also in that green area is a partial turnaround for emergency purposes for fire equipment to remove themselves from the street. It's my understanding, and James can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this fire department has indicated by letter or by some communication that they have no objection to this. Is that correct?
Correct. I received an email from Captain Weber regarding this proposed change of the easement. He seems to be okay with the proposed change. The one request from the board is that the easement area, I'm not sure if you've discussed this with the fire department, the one request from the department is that to possibly leave the easement area as a grassed area, but with no actual physical, anything in the way, basically. There's no plant trees there or anything to that effect.
It's really going to be used for parking, so it'll be paved.
The actual easement area, I believe, has been switched, and you're not allowed to park in the actual easement area.
It's moved
the
over. You're
easement
right.
is a fire.
I'm
is a
sorry.
fire
Correct.
lane area. I just asked that the easement area be left grassed, but with the understanding that whomever owns that site knows that it's possible for emergency vehicles to drive over their lawn, for example.
I stand corrected. That's correct. And obviously, we would agree to a condition like that that says nothing be erected or grown that would interfere with that.
And possibly have that filed for the record.
Anybody else want to speak in regards to this application? Anybody else want to speak? No? You gentlemen have anything to say, or the council summed it up for you pretty well? Okay. Any questions of the board?
Just have a question relative to this print. There's a little pink area next to this green. The green area is the present turnaround. What's the pink represent? What you want to extend?
The pink was the easement as it is.
Yeah, hold on.
Yes.
So, got to go on the record. Just go.
My name's Dan O'Connell. The green area is the driveway itself, and the pink would be the portion of the turnaround easement to the left.
So you want to move from the green to the pink?
Say that again?
You moving from the green to the pink?
Right.
Right.
Okay.
We're changing colors.
Yeah. So format to, yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
what was there before was the green, now you want to do away with that and be allowed to do so there?
To possibly clarify a little further, the turnaround easement at present is a portion of the green area, I believe. The green area is what they would like to use as the parking for the proposed development. The red area is the new location of the proposed turnaround easement that Captain Weber has approved and agreed to.
So you're moving, okay. So the turnaround area will go from the green to, over to the red.
Right, so the green area will be the paved parking area, and the red area will be the grassed but easement area forever to be left.
For the turnaround.
Yeah, so nothing will be developed on that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Any questions, Joe? No questions. Anybody else? Maybe? Rich? None? Mr. Request of the board.
I'd make a motion, Mr. Chairman, we approve this administrative adjustment with the area shown in green on the plan submitted on the pink area to be the new easement area, not to be paved.
Thank you.
There's been a motion on the floor. Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Chair votes yes. The adjustment has been approved, 4-0 in favor. Good luck. Thank you.
Perhaps we could have the next meeting in the basement of the library. My last confrontation with Rich was a lot cooler than this. Huh? It was, absolutely. We survived, though.
Sorry, may I make a quick request that the applicant or the builder just file an updated easement plan at the Registry of Deeds. A copy with me, but also at the Registry of Deeds.
Yeah.
It can be a half-size plan, just attached to that site itself, but it should be filed at the Registry of Deeds, as an update to the subdivision plans.
I'm sure the building commissioner will make sure we do before he lets us go forward.
I hope so, but if we can make it a condition.
We have plenty of extra copies. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night. Moving along on the back, what's that? Not yet. You can. Other businesses, we have notices from abutting towns. Any concerns, any board members?
Motion to place them on file.
Okay. Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Chair votes yes. General correspondences? Any correspondence from the board members? Okay, we're moving along. Next matter will be the zoning board advertisement for legal notices. Zoning board, we make recommendations to the zoning board in regards to what's appearing before them on July 24th. Tonight we have 4 different matters on for our recommendation to the zoning board. The first one being Robert Massey, 18 Edward Street. This is a RR regional retail zone. This is an appeal of the inspectional services and the zoning officer's enforcement of the zoning ordinance from sections 4.35, 12.90, 12.11, 6.17, and the property located at 17 and 19 Edward Street. There's a little bit of a narrative and a plan in the packet. So it looks like they're appealing the decision of the inspectional service and the zoning officer.
If I understand this material correctly, it looks like the applicant had applied for a variance at one point, and that the variance was denied, and there's some allegations that he continued to build while the appeal is pending. The problem is, I don't think we have enough information in our packet to know what went on with the building inspector, what went on as far as the variance is concerned, whether the building is impacted by the variance area or not. So I'd make a recommendation we take no action on this particular matter.
There's a motion on the floor to take no action. Anybody want to second that motion?
Second.
Motion's made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes, so therefore the vote is 4-0 to take no action because we have insufficient information. The next matter is Peter, 278 Branch Street. This is a special permit and variance for neighborhood business. This is to convert a laundromat to a restaurant without the required parking in a neighborhood business. I don't see a plan, but it wants us to waive the parking on Branch Street, which is a pretty busy street. Without the plan, I'd like to see how big the restaurant would be. I mean, the laundromat and the dry cleaning, I don't think would generate the same amount of car traffic as a restaurant would. So, I would be in opposition.
Mr. Chairman, did you receive everything? I believe there were copies of this in there, but if there were not...
No, I don't think we got those.
Oh, well.
seen that one.
I apologize for that. Please pass those around and
I thought this
take
was...
a look.
That was with the other one.
Oh, that's what it was. This was stuck with, okay. I did see
It
this
could have
in
been
the
accidentally
bottom.
stuck
Okay, no
with
problem.
another one.
Okay, this is the one I saw stuck to the other plan. No problem. Okay, I got you now.
Stuck with the
But
last
then
one.
parking spaces existing building commuter, and proposed restaurant building,
Oh, is that one?
existing street curb. Okay, here we go, Grand Street. Well,
But he is looking for a variance. Besides trying to change the use from a laundromat to a restaurant, it looks like he's applying for a variance for parking spaces. If I'm reading this correctly. Does it show on the plan the number of spaces he would need?
No, it just says he didn't put a table of use down. He just, I think he has, by counting these boxes, I think he said he has 10 parking spaces, existing.
To quickly note, Mr. Chairman and the board, a restaurant obviously, under zoning requires a much higher number of parking spaces
Then dry cleaning.
than a dry cleaning establishment would, which is,
Make a motion to recommend denial.
Second the motion.
Motion is made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes, so the matter votes 4-0 to deny. Next matter is the City of Lowell, 251 Mount Vernon Street. Affirm reconsideration of previous decision. This is the UMF, which is an urban multifamily. Petition to reaffirm special permit and variance previously granted December 2003, but not exercised. To substitute the non-conforming use of a storage warehouse to studios for musicians without the required parking in the former M4 zone district. Jim or George, do you have any input on this? Or any recommendations?
Well, I'll offer a little bit of background. From what I know, this has been a project that Ann Barton from our office has been working with as part of the Acre Urban Redevelopment Plan. They were previously, before the zoning board received approval to create the studios for musicians on this particular site. This was the one building that was on that block with the new middle school that was deemed important enough to remain, and we worked to find someone who could use it and buy it off the city. The problem has just been that in the time frame it's taken to do all of the work that's needed to be done in the process of doing the Acre Redevelopment Plan, the original approval period for this, which was granted, I guess, in 2003, expired. So they're going back to the zoning board just to ask to extend that period so they can proceed with their plans.
Make a motion to recommend approval.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes, approval 4-0, recommend approval. Thank you. The next matter is the appeal of the building commissioner decision. This is David Coates, care of attorney Kevin M. Carroll. This is 256, AKA 260, 284, 300, 301.1 Lawrence Street. Appeal of the building inspector's decision to deny demand for cease and desist order of the ongoing townhouse construction and revoking building permit for same. There's a copy of the notice in the packet and part of the plan. So this is an appeal from what the building inspection denied to give him a demand to the ceased order.
And again, Mr. Chairman, with this matter, we're not really privy to all of the actions of the applicant and the building inspector in denying their application originally, so I don't believe that, based upon the bare application, we have enough information to make a recommendation, so I'd recommend no action on this matter.
Motion's made. Anybody want to second that motion?
Second.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes. Therefore, the vote is 4-0 for no action for the fact that we have insufficient information to act on this project. That covers the zoning legal board. Further comments from the planning board members? Anybody have any questions or concerns or anything else?
We to do anything with this memo on
Oh.
Lowell Catholic?
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah, Lowell Catholic.
I saw that in the packet, but I overlooked it.
yes, the letter from Lowell Catholic, Mr. Chairman, if I can explain that quickly. The original approval for their expansion
Couldn't cut through the back.
included a requirement that they could not cut through the back, correct. They'd finished the expansion recently. They're still working on the final site details, I believe. So I got a call from a couple of the neighbors saying that they are still using that back access point. Upon discussions with the principal, we came to an agreement that we would look further into the traffic impacts of closing that entrance on Stevens Street itself, the possibility of maybe a timed frame where we could leave access open to that back gate or just completely close it off, and then bring whatever conclusions come out of those studies back to the planning board for a consideration if the applicant at that point sees fit. Right now, it's not in school, is not in session, so we decided for the summer to just prepare for the school season so that when the school season happens, the applicant or Lowell Catholic will be ready to complete whatever study they may need to complete under the I've asked Ann Barton to help me on this project as acting transportation engineer, and our new transportation engineer, which started today, I will try to get him involved as well, just so that we have a course of attack for when school starts, and that way we can come back. I can work with Lowell Catholic to come back in front of the board and address those concerns.
So do you want to vote on this tonight, or do you want us to wait till a future date?
I just wanted that to be in the packet for your information because it's something that may come down the pipeline.
They want it limited just to afternoon hours for a short period of time.
Correct, that's their proposal. I'd like to do a little bit, or have them do some sort of study whether or not that it makes sense, or if all traffic could be on Stevens Street, because I know it's a major concern of the neighborhood, and it was a condition of the approval of the board, so I don't want to just go forward with a change without looking at it in further detail. Obviously, because the summer months are when Lowell Catholic is not in session, we can't really do anything right now, but I wanted to make sure you had a copy of that letter for your information.
Now, if it's something that's going to impact the traffic in the neighborhood, would we have to re-advertise it as a public hearing?
Yeah,
That's a good question that we can look into, and I'll ask our Assistant City Solicitor, Patty Tulte, and others to look into that.
Yeah, the question, ask them whether, if it's just being a half hour, is that enough to re-trigger the whole thing?
Right.
Instead of just a complete cut through, totally all the time.
I'll bring that back to the department and ask them. We're still a ways away from them bringing anything back to the planning board, so we have time. If it requires some sort of public notice, I'm sure that we can make. We can
Remember when we had that hearing, the principal was there, and she was concerned about kids cutting through the back.
Correct.
And she did tell all the neighbors, you get any of those plates or whatever, they'll take those stickers away from each individual who has the right to park there.
Correct. The principal is very accommodating. I've spoken with her a couple of times now. Her only concerns is that they've been noticing that as school gets out, just during that time frame that they mentioned in the letter, the traffic getting out of the site onto Stevens Street and traffic on Stevens Street itself is pretty hazardous, a possible public safety hazard. With that said, they were still finishing all of their construction at the end of the school year, so we really don't know how the final site layout will work once the school year begins, so that's why we would like to wait until the beginning of the school year to see if that
And
happens.
the vice principal up there is a great guy, too.
Yeah, I believe Ann Barton has spoken with him about this project.
He's a good guy. I've dealt with him a long period of time, yep.
Good.
He used to work at University of Lowell, and he used to work at Tewksbury High School.
Good to know.
Vice principal out there, yep. Good guy.
Excellent.
Any other questions from planning board members? The only question I have, September 18th, that's our second meeting in September?
I believe so, yes.
I don't think I can be here that night, so, and since I know if you have any special permits, given me 4 people.
Okay.
So the question is, I don't know if maybe, if we want to consider maybe pushing it back a week, but I don't know what anybody else's schedule is. If you want to look into that, we can bring it up in our August meeting.
We could look
bring it
into,
up?
I don't believe so. The agenda,
I'm just thinking if I wasn't here and we do special permits, I'd like, you know, if we don't have a new body on by then, if we need 4 votes on a special permit, I wouldn't like to have people come down and then.
Correct.
I can't make, I have a personal matter I have to attend to.
what we could do, if we could decide now, if need be, the first meeting of that month is held on the Thursday because Monday, I believe,
Yeah,
is
'cause we
the
have the
Labor
Monday
Day
holiday,
weekend.
right.
We could just push this meeting to that Thursday of that week as well, if everybody can make that evening. If Monday
You
isn't
guys want to
good
look
for
at your
you.
schedule, or can we do it now, or whichever?
We
Okay.
can reaffirm at the next meeting as well, but if we can,
The 18th is what we're scheduled for, that's that Monday, and I'm out of town, I can't be here that night. And I just found out that 2 days ago. So I'm just thinking, I don't like to have them notify anything, and especially if we have a special permit, we need 4 votes. it's not fair to bring everybody down if we know in advance.
that's right.
So we're saying either, we can continue to either following Monday, or we can just put it on till that Thursday, you're saying?
Yeah, the following Monday would actually be a zoning board of appeals meeting in this room, so I'd like to do the Thursday.
So the Thursday would be what, the
Thursday.
18th, the 19th,
21st.
21? Is that okay
Yes.
for everybody? Does that work? Hope that doesn't inconvenience everybody. I think, since I knew now, I figured I'd bring up tonight, so if we could just throw it at Thursday, then you can
I'll
put it in our
change,
pocket next meeting to remind us, but
correct.
we'll have the meeting prior to that, right after Labor Day anyways.
correct, and the
So we'll have two
deadline,
more
I
meetings
believe.
before that.
True, we should make note of it at the next meeting for the sake of
The
the
deadlines?
application deadlines for the public
So
hearings,
if you want
because
to just
they're
put it
1
a
month
little later on
prior.
the old business, we'll address it.
Okay.
And that way we'll all know that we'll be on for that Thursday, 'cause especially, you know, when you do special permits that needs 4 votes and people come in all ready to go, and then you only have 3 people there, it's not very
Correct.
fair. I mean,
Right.
once we have the 5th board member on, we don't know when that will be, so.
Plus, the application deadlines will be 3 days later anyway, so it won't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
In theory, hopefully.
Any other questions, or can we help you, or you?
I have a personal question, Mr. Chairman, when the meeting's over.
Sure, okay, we'll entertain that when the meeting's over, all right. Thank you. Do we have a meeting to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you. I'll be right with you. Let me just get my plans all back together. Good to see you. Were you over at that, in the meeting that they had the advertising thing?